Chapter 1076. In the western desert holy monk's hand, a round plate emitted a beam of purple light that shot into the sky. It was so shocking that it could be seen even from far away. After a while, the western desert holy monk put away the round plate and the beam of light disappeared. That was because there were streaks of rainbow light flashing in the distance. Someone was attracted. What is that guy trying to do? Lu Ming was hiding not far away. He had seen everything. The western desert holy monk put away the round plate and returned to the dark cave. He shouted, "The treasure in this cave is mine." After shouting, his figure flashed and he quickly left the cave. Soon, more than a dozen streaks of rainbow light flew over, revealing more than a dozen figures. The treasure is in the cave. Kill. We can't let others beat us to it. Get lost. It's mine. More than a dozen experts rushed into the cave. Roar, roar, roar. In the cave, the roars of beasts were heard. The entire ground was shaking as a fierce fight broke out in the cave. That guy is using someone else to do his dirty work. Lu Ming was dumbfounded. Didn't they say that the western desert holy monks were kind-hearted and would help all living beings? That guy was too unreliable. Could he be a fake? I have hair, I have no hair. Buddha is merciful. That guy chanted again. In a flash, he didn't enter the cave but went in another direction. That guy is very mysterious. Let's follow him. Lu Ming quietly followed the western desert holy monk and came to a place dozens of miles away. There was a huge cave in that place. At that moment, Lu Ming heard a loud roar coming from the cave and then it gradually faded away. Lu Ming was dumbfounded. He finally understood that guy's motive. This cave was connected to the other cave dozens of miles away. This guy from the western desert was using someone else's cave to lure the ferocious beasts away. Then he could easily enter this cave and search for treasures. That wasn't a merciful holy monk. He was clearly an unscrupulous monk. That monk looked around furtively. Only then did Lu Ming see his face. She had a baby face and was slightly chubby. Her skin was so smooth that it would make women jealous. Her skin was pink and tender, and she looked harmless to humans and animals. He looked around, then chanted the name of Buddha and rushed into the cave. This guy is really not a good person. On his shoulder, Dandan looked at him with disdain. Lu Ming curled his lips and thought, "You're about the same as him. There must be treasures in this cave. Let's go in and take a look." Lu Ming also carefully rushed into the cave. The cave was very large. After a few thousand meters, it became even more spacious, like a huge underground cavern. Faint rumbling sounds could be heard from the front. It was clear that the battle was extremely intense. I saw a few pits. There must have been some spiritual herbs growing there, but they were all dug up by that monk. What a pity. Dandan lamented. As the two of them continued forward, they realized that the underground caverns were crisscrossing. They could no longer see the monk's shadow. Lu Ming walked forward casually. Suddenly, he stopped as a purple light attracted his attention. On one of the walls, a hazy purple light was emitted. It was hazy and beautiful. Lu Ming channeled his true yuan and wiped away the rocks on the surface. A longan-sized purple crystal appeared. This is a purple flame crystal. Lu Ming was shocked, but he was overjoyed. Purple flame crystal was a precious material that was rarely seen in the world. It could be used to refine weapons or pills. It was priceless. Most importantly, purple flame crystal was one of the most important main materials for refining nirvana pills. It was a level 9 material. Lu Ming did not expect to find a purple flame crystal here. He immediately condensed his true yuan into a blade and dug out the surrounding rocks to dig out the purple flame crystal. So heavy. The longan-sized purple flame crystal weighed more than 10,000 kilograms. It was really shocking. I wonder if there are more. After Lu Ming put away the purple flame crystal, he looked around carefully. It would be great if he could find a few pieces here. Although nirvana pills were not very useful to Lu Ming, they were very useful to others. If Fatty Kongjin had nirvana pills, he could even raise his third bloodline to level 9 divine grade. There were also his parents and disciples. In the future, when he met Xian Yanqing Mulins and the others, they would all be very useful. If there was a chance, Lu Ming wanted to collect the materials and refine a few cauldrons. After walking around for a while, Lu Ming discovered something else. There was purple light emitting from one of the walls. Just as Lu Ming was about to dig, a terrifying gust of wind attacked Lu Ming. Lu Ming was shocked. He turned around and threw out a palm strike. Bang! A terrifying force surged towards Lu Ming. Lu Ming could not help but take a few steps back. What a powerful force. Lu Ming was secretly shocked. Although he did not release his dragon force earlier, His vital essence was extremely strong. Coupled with the 5 types of intense and the hell-suppressing heaven skill, an ordinary martial artist at the second level of spirit god would be killed by him with one palm strike. But now he was forced to retreat. My hair. A Buddhist chant was heard. A harmless face appeared in front of Lu Ming. It was the monk. He looked very young, in his 20s. He squinted his eyes and smiled. He put his palms together and said, "Benefactor, the ferocious beasts in this cave were lured away by my friends. It's not good for you to take advantage of them like this, right?" Even though he was talking, the monk was still smiling. Lu Ming and Dandan looked at him with disdain. Those people were obviously tricked by the monk. But in the monk's mouth they became his friends. How shameless. Master, everyone has a share. I saw what you did just now. If this spreads out, I'm afraid it won't be good for the reputation of the Western Desert holy monk. Lu Ming said with a smile. My hair. My Buddha is merciful. I think you've misunderstood. Monks are merciful. The baby-faced monk chanted a Buddhist chant. Brr. Before the monk could finish, a loud roar was heard. A huge lizard shining with purple flames pounced towards the monk. Buzz. A golden light shone from the monk's body. He threw out a palm and a huge golden palm print hit the purple lizard. With a boom, the lizard was shattered into pieces. Merciful? Lu Ming was tongue-tied. My hair. My Buddha is merciful. The monk chanted a Buddhist chant again. He looked at Lu Ming and said, Benefactor, I've taken a liking to this purple flame crystal. Why don't you give it to me? What if I don't? Lu Ming said. My hair. My Buddha, hair your sister. I know you don't have hair. Lu Ming shouted and suddenly attacked. The dragon force in his body erupted and his strength increased. He threw a punch at Monk Wuyang. Monk Wuyang's body shone brightly. The dazzling golden light spread, making Monk Wuyang look like the reincarnation of Buddha. In addition, he had a harmless face. If Lu Ming had not seen him secretly, he would have thought that he was an enlightened monk. Boom. Chapter 1077. Boom. A terrifying explosion resounded as energy shot out in all directions. The underground cave shook violently. The rock of this underground cave was extremely hard. Perhaps it was because of the strong beasts living here. If it was an ordinary cave, it would have exploded. Even so, the entire underground cave was shaking violently. Bam. Bam. After one move, Lu Ming's body trembled as he retreated a few steps. So strong. This monk's strength is actually so terrifying? Lu Ming was shocked. At this moment he had already unleashed his dragon force, but he was still pushed back by the other party. The golden palm print was shockingly powerful, as though it could suppress everything. It was on par with the suppressing hell skill. Lu Ming was shocked. Unscrupulous monk was also surprised. He did not expect Lu Ming to be able to receive his palm without being injured. Brr. Brr. The shaking here attracted the attention of the beasts on the other side. Loud roars could be heard. Clearly some beasts were charging over. I have hair. Benefactor, you are so strong. This purple flame crystal can be yours. This little monk will take his leave. Unscrupulous monk chanted Buddha's name and left with his sleeves fluttering. The Western Desert is indeed unfathomable. Lu Ming's eyes flickered. Since ancient times, the Western Desert had always been the territory of Buddhism. It had always been mysterious and powerful. Many people said that the Western Desert was second only to the Central Continent among the 5 major territories in the Divine Wilderness. Brr, brr, brr. The thunderous roars caused the underground cave to rumble. Lu Ming did not think too much about it. He dug out the purple flame crystal and left the place in a flash. Next, Lu Ming walked around the underground cave for a while, but he did not find a third purple flame crystal. Instead, he found a few purple giant lizards which were killed by Lu Ming. However, there was obviously a nest of giant lizards in this underground cave. Some of them were very strong. Lu Ming did not stay for long. After a while, he left the cave and flew into the distance. Hoo-hoo, a gust of wind blew past. Lu Ming smiled. After obtaining 2 purple flame crystals, Lu Ming was in a good mood. There were 7 main ingredients for refining the Nirvana pill. Each of them was extremely precious and rarely appeared in the outside world. Now that he had obtained one, it could be considered an opportunity. Naturally, Lu Ming was in a good mood. Boom. A shocking explosion sounded. Up ahead, sword energy rushed into the heavens. Inscriptions flickered and space was torn apart. There were people fighting an intense battle. Lu Ming flew over at an extremely fast speed. Using the water concept, he condensed a cloud of mist and hid within it to watch. There were a total of 4 people in the battle, and Lu Ming was quite familiar with a few of them. Sandalwood Fairy, Kong Xian, the genius of the World Academy, and Wu Qingkong of the Celestial Martial Sword Sect. Lastly, there was a burly man in his 40s who was no weaker than Wu Qingkong. The 4 of them were in a chaotic battle. However, it was clear that Sandalwood Fairy and Kong Xian were working together. The 2 of them were fighting against Wu Qingkong and the muscular man. The battle was extremely intense. That is, at this time Lu Ming discovered that there was a small lake below. The lake water was clear, and in the lake there were 3 carps swimming around. The 3 carps shone with golden light, and their bodies glowed with light. Sometimes they gathered, sometimes they scattered, and when they did, they looked like a true dragon. Dragon carp? It's actually a dragon carp. Lu Ming was shocked. Dragon carps were also a kind of supreme treasure. It was said that they were the descendants of true dragons and had the blood of true dragons in their bodies. When used to refine elixirs, they were a rare treasure medicine. Its value was even higher than that of purple flame crystals. Coincidentally, one of the 7 main ingredients for refining nirvana elixirs was the blood of dragon carps. You want to compete with me? You're courting death. The dragon carps are mine. Wu Qingkong shouted, his murderous intent surging. Wu Qingkong, don't be too overbearing. There are 3 dragon carps. How about 1 for each of us? Sandalwood Fairy spoke. 1 for each of us. Are you qualified? All 3 of them are mine. Wu Qingkong sneered. His sword energy whistled and cracks appeared in the space. It was extremely terrifying. The other muscular man did not speak. His body emitted a white light as he waved his hand. A sky-covering palm appeared, tearing the heavens and the earth apart. This is the great sky-splitting palm. This person should be an expert from the Ji family, an overlord force. Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat. Among the 3 parties, Wu Qingkong's combat strength was astonishing. The muscular man from the Ji family had a profound cultivation and was not weak either. However, when Sandalwood Fairy and Kong Xian joined forces, their combat strength was terrifying. They were not weaker than the others. It was difficult to determine the outcome of the battle in a short period of time. Lu Ming smiled. He suddenly unleashed the 9 dragons' heaven-stomping steps and dashed toward the surface of the lake. In an instant, he appeared above the surface of the lake. With a grab, a huge vital essence hand appeared and grabbed toward the 3 dragon carps. Who is it? You're courting death. At this moment, the people in the air were shocked. Wu Qingkong even roared in anger. The 3 dragon carps were about to fall into Lu Ming's hand. However, at this moment, the 3 dragon carps glowed and turned into a ray of light. In a flash, they escaped from Lu Ming's true essence giant hand. Lu Ming was shocked. Just as he was about to use all his strength to capture them, a terrifying sword energy slashed toward Lu Ming. Helpless, Lu Ming could only turn around and punch out. Bang! The sword energy was defeated. Whoosh! Whoosh! In a flash, Wu Qingkong, the brawny man from the Ji family, Sandalwood Fairy, and Kong Xian appeared around Lu Ming. However, they did not attack immediately. Instead, they locked their auras on Lu Ming. Brat, it's you? Wu Qingkong was taken aback when he saw Lu Ming clearly. Sandalwood Fairy and Kong Xian were also surprised. Apparently they had recognized Lu Ming. Brat, to be able to block my sword attack, you must be quite capable. You must have been hiding your strength. Wu Qingkong looked coldly at Lu Ming and continued, however, you dare to capture dragon carps under my nose. You're going to die. In the Martial Saint's secret ground, everyone has a share. Of course, I can take action when I see the treasure. Lu Ming curled his lips. If you take action, you'll have to pay with your life. Wu Qingkong's killing intent exploded. When Lu Ming had refused to give up his spot in the marrow cleansing pool, he had already wanted to kill Lu Ming. Now his killing intent was even stronger. Whoosh! Wu Qingkong swung his sword and a terrifying sword chi slashed at Lu Ming. It was even stronger than before. Lu Ming was fearless. He activated the suppressing hell skill and punched out with his dragon force. Boom! The heavens and the earth trembled as the energy surged. Pillars of water rose from the lake below. The 3 dragon carps flashed and dodged the energy. Bang! The sword chi dissipated. Lu Ming broke the sword chi with his fist. He stepped forward and said in a cold voice, "You're still not strong enough." Then he punched out again. Lu Ming's fist seemed to contain the force of millions of tons. It was so terrifying that the entire space trembled. So strong? Wu Qingkong was shocked. His true essence surged and his sword hummed as he slashed out a shocking sword chi. However, it was useless. Lu Ming was like an invincible god of war. He punched out and destroyed the sword chi. He quickly approached Wu Qingkong. On the side, Sandalwood Fairy, Kong Xian, and the others were also shocked. They had never imagined that the young man who had passed the Heavenly Market Cave by luck would be so powerful. It was too terrifying. Why do I find this person's fighting style a little familiar? Sandalwood Fairy said. I have the same feeling. Kong Xian said. Whoosh. Chapter 1078. Don't even think about it. Sandalwood Fairy shouted. She waved her hand and a few elixirs flew out. The elixirs glowed and turned into weapons that attacked the burly man from the Ji family. At the same time, Kong Xian also attacked the burly man from the Ji family. The three of them engaged in a fierce battle. Boom, boom. Lu Ming was brave and invincible. He stepped on the void and punched with earth-shattering force. The void continued to explode as Wu Qingkong was forced to retreat. He was at a complete disadvantage. Finally, he let out a long roar and used bloodline fusion to turn into a battle sword. The sword chi whistled as he fought Lu Ming. To be honest, Wu Qingkong's battle strength was very strong. He was much stronger than Sanguinarum. No wonder he was called one of the strongest experts after the five magnates. He had the right to be arrogant. However, his cultivation was still at LV1 spiritual god. Lu Ming was never afraid of anyone at the same level. Clang, clang. After a few consecutive punches, the battle sword was sent flying and vibrating in the air. Damn it, who are you? Wu Qingkong roared in disbelief. He could not believe that someone who appeared out of nowhere had such terrifying battle strength. Not far away, Kong Xian and the others were also shocked. Wu Qingkong was completely suppressed. It was too shocking. Who else could do this except for the five magnates? Rumble. At this moment, a terrifying explosion came from afar. A ray of blood light flew over at high speed. Swoosh. A burly figure appeared in the air. His eyes were like lightning. When he saw Lu Ming, his killing intent was even more shocking. Lu Shaoqing die. With a roar, the figure punched out. The blood-red fist radiance pierced through the void and blasted toward Lu Ming. Shui Feng. Lu Ming frowned. This figure was Cold Blood Hall's #1 genius of the previous generation, Shui Feng. He did not expect Shui Feng to be here. Lu Ming punched back and collided with Shui Feng's fist radiance. His body trembled and he was forced to retreat. Shui Feng was very strong. With a level 7 divine bloodline and a LV4 spiritual god cultivation, his battle strength was terrifying. Shui Feng stepped forward with a violent aura. His eyes were filled with killing intent as he stared at Lu Ming. At this moment, Sandalwood Fairy and Kong Xian were dumbfounded. Lu Shaoqing? Just now, Shui Feng had called Lu Ming Lu Shaoqing. This dark-skinned young man was actually Lu Shaoqing? Sandalwood Fairy and her companion exchanged a blow with the Ji clan's burly man and retreated far away. They did not continue fighting. Shui Feng's arrival made the situation even more complicated. Brother Lu, it's you? Sandalwood Fairy said. Fairy, how have you been? Lu Ming smiled. Facing Shui Feng, he remained calm. It's really you. Kong Xian was also shocked. At that moment, Wu Qingkong retreated far away and observed from afar. This brat offended Shui Feng, he's courting death. Wu Qingkong sneered. Kill? Shui Feng roared, stepped forward and punched out. The space shattered under the blood-red fist. It was extremely terrifying. Do you think I'm afraid of you? The third bloodline appeared and a trace of power entered Lu Ming's body. Instantly, a terrifying killing intent emanated from Lu Ming's body, and his hair turned blood-red. Then the third bloodline turned into a sword, which Lu Ming held in his hand and slashed out. The blood-red sword light flashed and split Shui Feng's fist in half. Is that his bloodline? Strange, why is there no chakra? Sandalwood Fairy and the others were shocked. First, they were shocked that Lu Ming had finally used his bloodline power. His combat strength had indeed increased, and he had not used his full strength before. Second, they were shocked that Lu Ming's bloodline did not have a chakra. This was unheard of. Damn it, this guy probably doesn't have a life talisman. I must find a way to kill him. When he fights Shui Feng, I'll wait for an opportunity to strike. Wu Qingkong's mind kept spinning. Shui Feng was also shocked when he saw Lu Ming's sword break his fist. The true essence in his body circulated wildly, and his aura became even more violent. Divine Blood Leopard Fist. Shui Feng's fists were like blood jade and he constantly punched out. Fist radiance flew out and in the process, it turned into a blood leopard and pounced on Lu Ming. This was a divine level martial skill and it was extremely powerful. 5 slaughter styles. Lu Ming circulated the 5 slaughter styles, and the blood-red battle sword buzzed. Sword radiance shot out and scattered the blood leopards one after another. Slaughter mentality. Xue Feng was shocked, and at the same time he was even more determined to kill Lu Ming. Lu Ming's talent was too shocking. He was only at the first level of spirit god, but he could already fight with him. Bloodline appeared above his head, and in the next moment he turned into a blood leopard, roaring and pouncing on Lu Ming. Lu Ming was fearless. He held his battle sword and fought with Xue Feng. Lu Ming's combat strength was unparalleled, and he was invincible among those at the same level. However, Xue Feng's cultivation was 3 levels higher than Lu Ming's. Moreover, he had also comprehended a divine-level martial skill, and his bloodline fusion was even more powerful. Lu Ming and Xue Feng exchanged dozens of moves, and gradually fell into a disadvantageous position. The difference between our cultivation is too great. If I use the 9 Dragons bloodline or the suppressing Hellsteel bloodline, and the 3rd bloodline, I might be able to fight with him. Lu Ming's mind raced. However, this result was already enough to shock everyone present to the extreme. I didn't expect Brother Lu's combat strength to be so strong. This is too shocking. Kong Xn was tongue-tied, and after a while he said this. He was also at the first level of spirit god, but he realized that if he fought with Lu Ming now he would be easily killed. On the other side, the battle sword that Wu Qingkong had transformed into was also trembling in fear. If Lu Ming had used this kind of combat strength, he would not have been able to resist at all. He was too strong. That's right, even the 5 great authorities might not be as strong as him. Sandalwood Fairy sighed. Still. In the middle of the battle, Lu Ming used the 9 seals of the God Gate, and a light gate was formed. It shone brightly and suppressed Xue Feng. For a moment, Xue Feng was actually frozen. Kill. Lu Ming took a step forward and slashed at Xue Feng's head with his sword. Brr. Xue Feng roared and a bloody light burst out. With a bang, the light gate was shattered at the critical moment. Xue Feng continued to retreat, but he was still one step too late, and a piece of his scalp was cut off. Then Lu Ming lifted his leg and kicked Xue Feng's stomach, sending him flying. What a pity. Lu Ming lamented in his heart. His cultivation was still not strong enough, and the gate of the seal was broken by Xue Feng's violent True Yuan. If Lu Ming's cultivation was stronger, or if he had cultivated 2 gates of the seal, it would not be so easy for Xue Feng to break it. The gate of the seal was not omnipotent. If one's cultivation was too strong, Lu Ming would not be able to seal it. Even so, Xue Feng was already shivering. He looked at Lu Ming with fear in his eyes. Just now he was almost killed by Lu Ming's sword. What kind of secret technique is this? It's so terrifying. He was horrified. For a moment he dared not step forward to fight with Lu Ming. Kill. This time, it was Lu Ming's turn to take the initiative. He stepped forward and attacked Xue Feng. Buzz. Chapter 1079. The Gate of Seals glowed and flew towards Xue Feng like a ray of light. Moreover, the light emitted by the Gate of Seals also had a sealing effect. Xue Feng could not escape at all. His body was enveloped by the light of the Gate of Seals and he could not help but stiffen. Swoosh. Lu Ming's body was like a flickering shadow as he rushed towards Xue Feng. The blood leopard that Xue Feng had transformed into let out a furious roar. Blood spurted out like a volcanic eruption and rushed towards the Gate of Seals. This time Lu Ming was even faster. The blood sword pierced through the void and pierced through the blood leopard's body in an instant. Brr. The blood leopard let out a shocking roar as it broke through the Gate of Seals and clawed at Lu Ming. Lu Ming's expression changed. In a hurry, he struck out with his palm and clashed with the blood leopard's claw. With a loud bang, Lu Ming's body was sent flying a few thousand meters away. His qi and blood were in turmoil and he almost spat out a mouthful of blood. Xue Feng's genuine yuan was too strong. The moment Lu Ming stabbed him, he broke through the Gate of Seals and launched a counterattack. However, the blood leopard that Xue Feng had transformed into was definitely not in a good state after being stabbed by Lu Ming. At this moment, he roared and did not dare to continue the battle. Instead he turned and ran. Lu Ming did not chase after him. With his current cultivation coupled with the 9 seals of the Divine Gate, he could indeed injure Xue Feng. However, it was almost impossible to kill him. If Xue Feng went all out, Lu Ming would not be in a good state either. In the blink of an eye, Xue Feng had disappeared. As for Wu Qingkong, he had already sneaked away before Xue Feng had escaped. As for the dragon carp, he did not dare to take it anymore. If he stayed, he would definitely be killed by Lu Ming. On the other side, the expression of the Ji family's strong man changed. In the end he let out a long sigh and turned to leave. His combat strength was only on par with Wu Qingkong. If he continued to stay he would only be courting death. In an instant only Lu Ming, Sandalwood Fairy and Kong Xian were left above the lake. "Brother Lu, why did you disguise yourself? Even your aura has changed. We are suffering," Sandalwood said with a smile. "There are some people that I don't want to see. Fairy, please forgive me." Lu Ming smiled. Then Lu Ming looked at the 3 dragon carps in the lake and said, "Do you two also need dragon carps? It's all thanks to Brother Lu this time. Otherwise, if Xue Feng had arrived, Brother Kong and I probably wouldn't have gained anything. These 3 dragon carps naturally belong to Brother Lu," Sandalwood said. "Fairy, you're too polite. I only need 2. As for the other one, you can take it." Lu Ming smiled and landed on the surface of the lake. He used the Divine Gate 9 seals. In a flash, the Gate of Seals appeared and locked the 3 dragon carps in place. Then, his Zhen Yuan condensed into a giant hand and scooped up the 3 dragon carps. With a wave of his hand, 2 of the dragon carps disappeared. Lu Ming had collected them into a small lake in the mountain and river diagram. To refine the Nirvana pill, he only needed the true blood of the dragon carps, not the dragon carps. Therefore 2 dragon carps were enough and more would not be of much use. There was no harm in giving the other one to Sandalwood Fairy. "Thank you, Brother Lu." Sandalwood Fairy was overjoyed. She was an alchemist, and this dragon carp was indeed of great use to her. After Sandalwood Fairy put it away, she was about to say something when her expression suddenly froze. She revealed a look of surprise and stared ahead with wide eyes. On the side, Kong Xian was the same. He seemed to have seen something extremely shocking. Lu Ming was a little surprised. He turned around and in the next moment, his eyes immediately widened. In front of him, at an unknown distance, there was a magnificent palace that emerged from the void. It was surrounded by clouds and mist outside, like an immortal palace. It was incomparably huge, but it was full of vicissitudes as if it had crossed endless years. It seemed real and illusory at the same time. From afar it was very unreal, like an illusion. "What kind of palace is this? It wasn't there just now." Lu Ming was surprised. There was nothing there just now, so why would an ancient palace suddenly appear? "Sacred mansion, it's the sacred mansion," Kong Xian muttered to himself, his eyes revealing an incomparable excitement. Sacred mansion? Both Sandalwood Fairy and Lu Ming were very surprised. This arcane realm was called the Sacred Mansion Arcane Realm, but Lu Ming had never known what it meant. He did not expect that there really was a sacred mansion. Yes, in the ancient books of our World Academy, there is a sacred mansion in this arcane realm, and there is a supreme existence inside. It is said that it surpasses the Emperor. Kong Xian said word by word. His eyes were filled with excitement as if he was on a pilgrimage. An existence that surpasses the Emperor. Lu Ming and Sandalwood gasped a breath of cold air. In the divine wilderness continent, the Emperor was the strongest. In the eyes of all cultivators, the Emperor was already a supreme existence. Their combat strength was earth-shattering. With a palm strike they could split the sky and crack the earth, penetrate the earth and pierce through the sky. It was boundlessly terrifying. The ultimate goal of all cultivators was to become an emperor and dominate the world. But now there was a figure above the Emperor here? How could it not be shocking? "Is this true?" Lu Ming asked. Kong Xian shook his head and said, "I don't know, but it is indeed recorded in the ancient books. And according to the ancient books, the sacred mansion rarely appears. Even when the emperors could freely enter this place, no one has seen it. It has always been a legend, but now it has really appeared. It is incredible." Kong Xian sighed again and again. He was very excited and then he revealed many secrets. According to the old legends, there was an existence that surpassed the sovereign level living in this Saint Mansion. If someone obtained the Saint Mansion token, they could enter the Saint Mansion with it and obtain great opportunities. They might even have the chance to obtain the inheritance of that existence. And the Sacred Mansion token was in the Sacred Mansion Arcane Realm. It is said that this Sacred Mansion Arcane Realm has existed for hundreds of thousands of years. Even if it is an existence above the Emperor, it can't live for hundreds of thousands of years, right? Sandalwood Fairy said with some doubts. The path of cultivation was against the heavens. The higher the cultivation, the longer the lifespan. It was already very heaven-defying for an emperor to live for 10 to 20,000 years. It was equivalent to a mortal living for hundreds of years, watching the world change like a living history book. As for the existence above the emperor, no matter how powerful it was, it could not live for hundreds of thousands of years. It was too shocking and unbelievable. unless it was a legendary god. Legend said that gods could exist with heaven and earth, but that was only a legend. I'm not too sure about that either. Kong Xn shook his head. Even so, their eyes were filled with flames. An existence that surpassed a ruler, this was too shocking. Once one reached such a boundary, one would definitely be all-powerful and unimaginable. If it was true, they would benefit endlessly if they obtained something. Brr, brr. At this moment, a long howl resounded through the earth. It was extremely shocking. Whoa. The three of them saw a huge silver wolf appear on a mountain peak in the distance. It howled at the sky, and its aura was shocking like a tsunami. With a stomp, the mountain peak collapsed. The silver wolf broke through the sky and flew in the direction of the sacred mansion. Rumble. In the sky, a mountain ridge moved. Upon closer look, it was a giant snake swimming across the sky, heading toward the sacred mansion. Bang. The earth rumbled and trembled. Not far away, a giant ape as tall as a mountain stepped on the ground, causing the earth to crack and the mountains to tremble. Chapter 1080. The land seemed to be boiling. Powerful beasts went berserk and flew in the direction of the Saint Mansion. Along the way, if they saw any human martial artists, they would kill them immediately. There were even powerful beasts that killed each other. With a sharp cry, the sky darkened as a terrifying pressure pressed down. Oh no, run. Lu Ming's face changed as he rushed to the side. Sandalwood Fairy and Kong Xion's faces also changed as they followed Lu Ming to the side. A strong wind blew as a giant eagle flew over their heads. Its eyes were as sharp as swords as it glanced at the three of them. With a flap of its wings, a terrifying tornado was formed and swept toward the three of them. Wherever the tornado passed, not to mention trees, even huge mountains were uprooted and swept into it. The scene was horrifying. The three of them ran forward at full speed to avoid the tornado. After the giant eagle fanned out the tornado, it ignored Lu Ming and the others and quickly flew away. The three of them didn't dare to take it head-on. They used their movement techniques to avoid it. After flying for a few thousand miles, the tornado weakened and disappeared into the air. Phew. The three of them let out a long breath. That giant eagle was definitely a beast above the 7th level spirit god realm. It was too strong. They were too weak. It seems that the sacred mansion has really appeared. The powerful beasts in the secret territory have all been alarmed. Kong Xian said. What are you going to do next? Lu Ming asked. We'll meet up with the other brothers and see if we can take a gamble. If we can get a little opportunity from the appearance of the sacred mansion, it will be endless benefits. Kong Xian's eyes were burning with passion. Sandalwood Fairy nodded. A group of people from the Medicine King Valley had also entered. She also wanted to meet up with them. Fairy, why don't we join forces? The Medicine King Valley is good at inscription. The World Academy also has people who are good at inscription and martial arts. Only by working together can we bring out the best in each other. Kong Xian said. Okay, it's decided. Brother Lu, will you come with us? Sandalwood Fairy looked at Lu Ming. No, I have other things to do. I'll take my leave now. Lu Ming shook his head, bid farewell to the two of them and left. The two of them felt that it was a pity. If Lu Ming were to join them, their chances of success would undoubtedly be greater. Then the two of them left. With the appearance of the sacred residence, everyone in the secret realm was in an uproar. Everyone from the World Academy knew some secrets, and rumors about those above the ruler level had also spread. All the powerhouses who entered the secret realm were extremely enthusiastic. Powerhouses from various forces gathered and headed toward the sacred residence. Lu Ming flew all the way and soon saw a few corpses of ferocious beasts. They were all killed by the ferocious beast. Lu Ming landed and his devouring power burst out, devouring the blood essence of the ferocious beasts. This was the reason why he had left Sandalwood Fairy and Kong Xen. Just now, the powerful vicious beasts in the mystic realm had gone on a rampage and killed many martial artists and weaker vicious beasts. Lu Ming didn't want to waste them, so he swallowed them and broke through to the next realm. Along the way, Lu Ming devoured all the human martial artists and ferocious beasts that he saw being killed. Many of them were at the spiritual god level. Lu Ming devoured more and more energy. After a full day, Lu Ming had devoured the energy of hundreds of human cultivators and vicious beasts. Then he found a hidden place and entered the mountain river diagram to begin refining. The energy of the blood essence was all used to improve the 9 dragons' bloodline. The other energy was all converted into vital essence. Lu Ming began to break through to the 2nd level of the spirit god realm. His current conception of heaven and earth was completely ahead of his cultivation. As long as he had energy, he could break through to the next realm. Boom. Boom. The majestic vital essence gathered in the spiritual god, making it more solid. The spiritual god sat cross-legged in his dantian, his whole body glowing and looking solemn. After a long time, with a rumble, Lu Ming's aura surged. The second level of the spirit god realm. Lu Ming had finally broken through to the second level of the spirit god realm, and his strength had greatly improved. If he encountered Xue Feng now, Lu Ming was confident that he could kill him even without using the 9 seals of the divine gate. Lu Ming stood up and stepped out, appearing outside the mountain river diagram. Now I can fight for the Saint Mansion. Lu Ming revealed a confident expression. If it was before he broke through to the second level of the spirit god realm, even if Lu Ming went, he might not be able to obtain any benefits. Many of the previous generation's geniuses had entered the mountain river diagram. Every overlord force probably had an expert like Xue Feng, and there might even be someone stronger. Moreover, these forces had many people. If Lu Ming was at the first level of the spirit god realm, even if he went, he might not be their opponent. Moreover, there was also Yang Padian. The battle strength of the 5 young tycoons was absolutely shocking and couldn't be underestimated. But now, Lu Ming was confident that even if he couldn't suppress all of them, it wouldn't be a problem for him to get a share of the loot. Using the 9 dragons' heaven-stomping steps, Lu Ming turned into a streak of light and flew away. Soon, Lu Ming had flown a few 100,000 miles. So far, where is the Saint Mansion? Lu Ming was speechless. After flying a few 100,000 miles, he felt that the Saint Mansion wasn't close at all. It was still so far away that he couldn't see it. Lu Ming continued to fly, flying a few 100,000 miles. Unfortunately, it was still the same. He didn't feel that he was close to the Saint Mansion. The Saint Mansion was floating in the air like an immortal palace. Boom. Suddenly, there was an uproar in front of him. There were experts fighting fiercely. In the distance, the sky was shrouded in endless light. Various colored lights flickered as terrifying attacks collided continuously. Lu Ming was slightly surprised. He restrained his aura and flew over. Fairy Brother Kong. Below there were some figures looking up. Fairy Sandalwood and Kong Xan were among them. Lu Ming flew over to greet them. Brother Lu. Seeing Lu Ming, both of them smiled. What's going on? Lu Ming asked. They're fighting for the Saint Mansion's token. Fairy Sandalwood said. What? The Saint Mansion's token has appeared? Lu Ming was shocked. He didn't expect that the battle in the sky was because of the Saint Mansion's token. High up in the sky, dazzling lights flashed. It was impossible to see the faces of the people inside. Only 7 or 8 figures could be seen crisscrossing and fighting fiercely. They were all powerful and terrifying existences. Even Fairy Sandalwood and Kong Xan could only watch from below, unable to interfere. There were many people watching below. Lu Ming saw Yin Bupo from the Sky Eagle Fort and some other experts from the Sky Eagle Fort. In addition, the Ji family from the Demon Mountain was also there. Everyone stared at the sky, watching the progress of the battle. Bang! Suddenly, a huge figure was shot down and fell heavily on the ground. It was a lightning eagle. Its body was covered in lightning, but there was no aura. It was dead. Senior brother? Yin Bupo and the others shouted in anger. Obviously, this lightning eagle was an expert from the previous generation of the Sky Eagle Fort. Swoosh! At this moment, another figure rushed down. Chapter 1081. Senior Brother Luo. Kong Xian's expression changed as he stepped forward. Obviously, this person was an expert from the World Academy. Sai, I'm no match for them. I don't need the Sacred Mansion token. Senior Brother Luo sighed. Kong Xian and Sandalwood Fairy were shocked. They knew that Senior Brother Luo was the #1 prodigy of the World Academy. He had awakened a 7th level divine bloodline and reached the 4th level of the Spirit God realm. He shouldn't be weaker than Xue Feng, but he still couldn't defeat them. The number of people decreased, but the battle became more intense. Terrifying vibrations spread out for thousands of miles. The void was as fragile as a piece of paper. Bang! Bang! Following that, more and more people were sent flying out of the battlefield. For people were sent out of the battlefield in succession. They were severely injured and stood in the void, looking at the battlefield unwillingly with fear in their eyes. Lu Ming could see that there were only 2 figures left in the sky, fighting fiercely. Clang! Clang! The sounds of collisions were constantly heard as if 2 gods were fighting. Sizzle! The space cracked and the light faded. 2 figures appeared in front of everyone. Both of them were tall and burly with wild auras. One of them held a halberd in his hand. His black hair hung loosely behind his back, and his aura was shocking to the extreme. Just by standing there, the space around him was like water, constantly twisting and distorting, forming circular ripples. Yang Padian. This person was actually one of the top 5 youths, Yang Padian. The other person stood in front of Yang Padian. His body was even more burly than Yang Potion's, revealing 2 muscular arms. He was holding a huge spiked club. This person looked very young, definitely not more than 30 years old. He was in the same generation as Lu Ming. A prodigy of the younger generation was actually able to fight with Yang Padian. Who was this person? This person is from the Northern Plains and is known as the #1 prodigy of the Northern Plains. I heard that he fought with Yang Padian outside before. Kong Xian explained in a low voice. Lu Ming suddenly understood. So it was a prodigy of the Northern Plains. He had also heard that a prodigy from the Northern Plains fought with Yang Padian to a draw. Between the two of them, there was a purple gold token floating in the air, emitting a hazy glow. Lu Ming's eyes lit up. This should be the Holy Mansion's token. Tuobashir, let's settle this today. Yang Padian held the halberd in his hand. With a slight movement, he cut open a crack in space. His aura was wild. His hair danced in the wind and his eyes were like lightning. That's exactly what I wanted. Tuobashir grinned and waved his mace, creating a loud rumbling sound. Waves of energy surged, and the token of the Saint Mansion was blasted high up into the sky. Shwa shwa. At the same time, the two of them moved, rushing towards each other, starting a great battle. Yang Padian had also comprehended the will of space, and his usage of it was even more terrifying than Dishen's. At the same time, he also had the support of other wills. When he struck out with his halberd, it was as if he could sever the void. Tuobashir's muscles bulged like an invincible warrior. His mace danced in the air, crushing everything in its path. When it collided with the ancient halberd, a terrifying rumble could be heard. The two of them clashed fiercely, and in the blink of an eye, they had exchanged dozens of blows. The others gathered around to watch, their eyes filled with amazement. Is this the strength of the 5 giants? They're indeed powerful. Lu Ming exclaimed. At the same time, a strong fighting spirit appeared in his eyes. Sigh, they're too powerful. They haven't even used the bloodline fusion, but they're already so powerful. I'm too far behind them. Kong Xian sighed. Have their bloodlines surpassed level 8 of the divine level? Lu Ming asked. That's right. The bloodlines of the 5 giants of the central continent are all at level 9 of the divine level. Sandalwood Fairy said. They're actually at level 9 of the divine level. Lu Ming was also a little surprised. Level 9 of the divine level was the highest level of bloodline. Each of them was extremely terrifying. The higher one's bloodline was, the greater the difference in the talent or bloodline bonus brought by each level. Level 7 of the divine level was much stronger than level 6 of the divine level. However, level 8 of the divine level was much stronger than level 7 of the divine level, whether it was talent or bloodline bonus. As for level 9 of the divine level, it was even more terrifying. This was because level 9 of the divine level represented the peak in perfection. It was not something a level 8 of the divine level could compare to. If level 8 of the divine level meant that one had the potential to become an emperor, then level 9 of the divine level meant that one would definitely become an emperor as long as they didn't die. In the history of the divine wilderness continent, anyone who awakened level 9 of the divine level bloodline would become an emperor as long as they didn't die. The 5 giants of the central continent were equivalent to becoming an emperor in the future. It was no wonder that Yang Padian was so arrogant. He always acted as if he was above everyone else. He was destined to become an emperor. Apart from people who were at the same level as him, everyone else was just an ant in his eyes. Perhaps in the depths of his heart, he didn't even care about supremes. Clang, clang. The battle continued and became more and more intense. Both of them were really angry for the Sacred Mansion token. Both of them were determined to get the Sacred Mansion token. In the blink of an eye, the two of them had exchanged more than 100 moves. The purple gold Sacred Mansion token rolled around in their energy. Crack. Suddenly, a crisp sound came from the Saint Mansion's token. Then, under everyone's dumbfounded gazes, the token crumbled into pieces. The Sacred Mansion token shattered. Everyone was stunned. Even Yang Padian and Tuobashir were stunned. They stopped fighting and looked at each other. No one had expected the Sacred Mansion token to shatter. Wasn't that the token to enter the Sacred Mansion? The owner of the Sacred Mansion was an existence that surpassed the Emperor. How could his token shatter so easily? Impossible. The Sacred Mansion token is indestructible. It can't be broken. This is fake. This is a fake token. Kong Xian shouted. A fake token? Everyone looked at each other. I know. Someone threw out a fake token. They want to sit on the mountain and watch the tigers fight, then reap the benefits. Someone guessed. Everyone's eyes flashed. They felt that it was very likely that someone wanted to take advantage of the situation. Fairy Brother Kong, how did the token appear? Lu Ming asked. I heard that before this, someone shouted that he found the token. Many people fought over it. Later, more and more people joined in. In the end, even Yang Patian and Tuoba Shur were attracted. Kong Xian explained. So you're saying that no one saw where the token came from? Lu Ming asked. Both Fairy Sandalwood and Kong Xian shook their heads. Previously, when everyone saw the Sacred Mansion token, they fought over it like crazy. Who would have thought that the token was fake? Lu Ming nodded. It seemed that someone was really trying to take advantage of the situation. Damn it. Which bastard did this? If I find out, I'll make him suffer. Ian Bupo from the Heavenly Eagle Castle roared. The Heavenly Eagle Castle lost a peerless expert because of this. Chapter 1082. Yang Patian and Tuoba Shur's eyes were filled with murderous intent. Someone actually dared to mess with them. They deserved to die. The two of them scanned the crowd with murderous intent, sending chills down everyone's spine. In the end, they did not find anyone suspicious. Yang Patian snorted coldly and left. Tuoba Shur grinned and left as well. Since the Sacred Mansion token was fake, there was no need for them to continue fighting. Then, the people from the other forces left one after another. Lu Ming did not leave. He had his eyes on a person. It was a slightly plump young man. He looked very simple and honest. However, his eyes were darting around and Lu Ming felt that they were somewhat familiar. Fairy Brother Kong, come with me. Lu Ming whispered. Fairy Sandalwood and Kong Xian were slightly stunned, then nodded and followed Lu Ming in a certain direction. In front of them, the simple-looking young man was strolling in the mountains. He did not seem to be walking fast, but his speed was surprisingly fast. The three of them concealed their auras and followed the young man in the forest. Fairy Sandalwood and Kong Xian were curious. They did not know why Lu Ming was following the young man. Could it be that Lu Ming had noticed something? After traveling for 10,000 miles, the young man in front of them stopped and looked around. Then a light flashed on his body. In the next moment, the young man's appearance changed completely. He had turned into a monk. Unscrupulous monk. Lu Ming recognized the monk at a glance. It was the same unscrupulous monk they had met before. Western Desert Holy Monk. The three of them hid behind a rock and concealed their auras as much as possible. Kong Xian transmitted his voice to the other two. They could only transmit their voice because they were too close. If they spoke, no matter how soft their voices were, unscrupulous monk would hear them. Sigh. At this moment, unscrupulous monk sighed, then reached into his chest and took out a purple gold token. The three of them were dumbfounded. Wasn't that the Sacred Mansion token? It was exactly the same as the one before. My hair, my Buddha is merciful. It's a pity that only a few experts died this time. Yang Patian and Tuoba Shur were not injured. I thought they would both be injured. The monk muttered in a low voice, but Lu Ming and the other two heard him clearly. The three of them looked at each other, especially Sandalwood Fairy and Kong Xian, whose eyes almost popped out of their sockets. It was actually this fellow. To think that the one who threw out the fake Saint Manor token and started the battle was actually this fellow. Weren't the holy monks of the Western Desert compassionate and merciful? But how could this guy do such a thing? Sandalwood Fairy and Kong Xian were both in a daze. Lu Ming was better off because he was mentally prepared. He had seen how heartless this monk was before. Looks like I have to do it again. Unscrupulous monk mumbled and revealed a harmless smile. With a wave of his sleeve, he strode away. Lu Ming and the other two stared at each other in bewilderment. In the end, they did not continue to follow. They returned to the place where the battle had taken place and gathered with the people from the World Academy and Medicine King Valley. Brother Kong, why can't we get close to the Saint Mansion? I've flown for millions of miles, but it still seems so far away. Lu Ming was a little puzzled. The Saint Mansion should be millions of miles ahead, but because it hasn't fully manifested, it looks so far away. In fact, we've been getting closer. Kong Xian explained. The World Academy was the most familiar with the Saint Mansion's secret realms. Lu Ming nodded. Immediately, Lu Ming, Sandalwood Fairy, and the others flew in the direction of the Saint Mansion. Hundreds of thousands of miles later. The Saint Mansion token has appeared ahead. What? The Saint Mansion token is mine. Let's go. They heard a series of loud shouts as figures streaked across the void and flew in a certain direction. That monk is stirring up trouble again. Kong Xang gritted his teeth. Let's go take a look, but don't do anything, Sandalwood Fairy said. Everyone flew in that direction. Sure enough, there was a terrifying battle in a place and corpses were falling continuously. In the forest below, they saw a slightly plump young man with rolling eyes. It was the unscrupulous monk in disguise. At that moment, the unscrupulous monk was running around, picking up the storage rings of the dead. Sandalwood Fairy and Kong Xing's eyelids twitched. Is that really the Saint Monk of the Western Desert? Could it be fake? Sandalwood Fairy's eyes widened in disbelief. That had completely shattered her understanding of the Saint Monk of the Western Desert. It should be real. I fought with him before and I used a Buddhist cultivation technique, Lu Ming said. The unscrupulous monk was unfathomable. He was young, but his combat strength was extremely terrifying. Then Lu Ming and the others left the place because the Saint Mansion token must be fake. It must be the unscrupulous monk who was stirring up trouble. The group flew for millions of miles. A huge mountain peak appeared in front of them. The peak was bare without any vegetation. It was all rocks. At this moment, the entire mountain peak was covered with inscriptions. It was glowing and incomparably resplendent. High up in the sky, the wind and clouds gathered. The huge palace was faintly discernible as if it was in the sky, but it had not fully materialized. Thousands of figures stood in the distance of the mountain. They were all the experts of the major factions who had entered this time. Roar, roar. Terrifying roars could be heard. Dozens of powerful beasts were fighting fiercely on the mountain. Blood chi soared into the sky. Lu Ming and the others were shocked when they saw that from afar. Those powerful existences in the secret realm were coming here, but they were fighting each other on the mountain. Why was that? The roars were endless and the fighting was extremely fierce. Those who could come here were all existences above the 7th level of the spirit god realm. Howl. There was a wolf howl that was extremely mournful. Lu Ming saw a huge silver wolf that was 100 meters tall. However, its heart was grabbed by a huge eagle and it fell on the mountain peak. Fresh blood seeped into the mountain peak, making the mountain peak shine even brighter. The giant eagle was not faring well either. Its wings were grabbed by a giant ape, and its wings were torn off. Then a giant centipede cut open its stomach. All of them were giant beasts fighting fiercely. Giant beasts fell and were torn apart. A giant snake as big as a mountain was cut into several pieces by a giant mantis. However, the mantis head was bitten off by the giant snake before it died. Whoosh, whoosh. More and more people came, but they all stopped in the distance and looked at the scene in shock. Half a day later, all the giant beasts fell on the mountain. Their blood seeped into the mountain as if they had become nourishment for the mountain. In the sky, the ancient palace was rumbling. Wind and clouds gathered, and it seemed like it would appear at any time. At this moment, the crowd finally dared to approach the mountain. Lu Ming looked over and saw more than 5,000 people. Lu Ming saw Yang Patian, Tuoba Shi, and Di Shen. Junior brother Wu, is he the person you were talking about? Suddenly, a cold voice was heard. A murderous gaze stared at Lu Ming. Lu Ming turned his head and frowned. A group of youths with swords on their backs stood not far away. Some of them were looking at Lu Ming coldly. Wu Qingkong. Chapter 1083. These were the experts of the Sky Martial Sword faction. Senior brother, that's him. His name is Lu Shaoqing. Wu Qingkong said to a man in his 40s. The man in his prime stepped out and stared at Lu Ming with a cold gaze. Lu Shaoqing, how dare you lay your hands on the people from the Talent Swordsmanship sect? I think you don't need to live in this world. The burly man's aura was oppressive as he exuded a powerful aura. The others heard the commotion and looked over. Lu Shaoqing? Among them, Jing Kongling, Junyu, and Yin Bupo were surprised. They had seen Lu Ming before. They were surprised to see Lu Ming. Isn't that the weakling with a combat strength of 5? Yes, that's him. Did he offend the Sky Martial Sword faction? He's courting death. Why do I feel that Wu Qingkong suffered a loss in his hands? Otherwise, why would he ask the experts of the previous generation to help him? He could have done it himself. That's true. It can't be, right? Is that weakling so powerful? Many people recognized Lu Ming. There were many discussions and various guesses. Lu Ming glanced at the man in his prime and looked at Wu Qingkong. Wu Qingkong, I let you go last time. Seems like you didn't learn your lesson. I'll send you on your way then. As soon as he said that, everyone was shocked. Could it be that Wu Qingkong had really suffered in Lu Ming's hands? Lu Shaoqing, don't be arrogant. You're the one who's going to die today. Wu Qingkong's face was cold. He wanted to chop Lu Ming into pieces. Clang, clang. The sound of swords could be heard. Powerful sword auras erupted from the bodies of the Tianwu sword sect members. Their gazes were like swords as they stared at Lu Ming. Swoosh. Another tall and sturdy man in the prime of his life stepped out and stood beside the previous man. His aura was astonishing. There are 2 LV4 Spirit God Realm experts. Lu Ming's lips curled into a faint smile. There were 2 4th-level Spirit God experts in the Sky Martial Sword sect. Judging from their auras, they were not weaker than Xue Feng. They should be at the same level as Xue Feng. Oh no, it's them. Brother Lu, these 2 are the strongest geniuses of the previous generation of the Sky Martial Sword faction. Both of them have awakened level 7 divine bloodlines. Sandalwood Fairy said worriedly. Sky Martial Sword faction, don't go too far. If you want to kill Brother Lu, you'll have to go through the World Academy first. Kong Xen stepped forward and stared at the people from the Celestial Martial Sword sect. Although they had seen Lu Ming fight before, and he was indeed powerful enough to injure Xue Feng and force Xue Feng to retreat in a sorry state. But now the Sky Martial Sword sect had 2 experts like Xue Feng. When Lu Ming fought Xue Feng, it was already very difficult. Facing 2 such experts, he was definitely not a match. World Academy, if you want to die, I'll fulfill your wish. Within the Sky Martial Sword sect, a robust man at the 4th level of the Spirit God realm spoke coldly and in an extremely domineering manner. What arrogance! From the World Academy, a man in his 30s stepped out, his aura exploding. This was the strongest person from the World Academy this time. He was also the top genius of the previous generation of the World Academy. He was on the same level as Xue Feng. One had to admit that the previous generation's geniuses were too weak compared to this generation. Those who had awakened level 7 divine bloodlines were already the top geniuses of their respective factions. They couldn't be compared to this generation's geniuses at all. The difference was too great. It was as if all the luck had been placed on this generation, allowing it to enter a golden age. Ah, Brothers Wu, why don't you count me in to kill Lu Shaoqing? With a cold laugh, a man in a blood-red robe stepped out. It was Xue Feng. Back when he was injured by Lu Ming, he had been waiting for an opportunity to take revenge. Now that he saw Lu Ming fighting with the people from the Sky Martial Sword faction, how could he miss such a great opportunity? Xue Feng, you came at the right time. Let's work together and kill this person. One of the men from the Sky Martial Sword faction said. At this moment, everyone's attention was focused on them. This Lu Shaoqing had offended so many people. It seemed like he was going to die today. At this moment, Sandalwood Fairy, Kong Xn, and the white-robed man from the World Academy all had ugly expressions on their faces. If it was only the Sky Martial Sword faction, they might still be able to put up a fight. But with Xue Feng, it would be difficult. You're all here. You came at the right time. Let's settle this together today. Lu Ming smiled faintly and took a step forward. Everyone was stunned. What did he say? Facing such a situation, he actually said that he would settle it together? Was he crazy? Sandalwood Fairy and the others were also stunned. Brother Lu. Sandalwood Fairy called out. Fairy Brother Kong, leave this place to me. Lu Ming smiled at Sandalwood Fairy and the others, then stepped out to face Xue Feng and the others. Brother Wu, this kid has a very evil secret technique that can conceal people's movements. Let's work together and kill him. Xue Feng whispered to the 2 experts from the Sky Martial Sword faction. All right. The 2 experts from the Sky Martial Sword faction nodded. They had heard from Wu Qingkong about the battle between Lu Ming and Xue Feng. They knew that Lu Ming was not ordinary. Although he sounded strong, they did not dare to be careless. Boom, boom, boom. The 2 experts from the Sky Martial Sword faction and Xue Feng unleashed their powerful auras at the same time. Shocking auras shot up to the sky and pressed down on Lu Ming. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. The 3 of them moved and surrounded Lu Ming. The 3 of them are joining forces to deal with Lu Shaoqing? How can this be? Is Lu Shaoqing's combat strength that strong? Otherwise, why would Xue Feng and the others take him so seriously and need the 3 of them to join forces? They were not fools. When they saw the 3's reaction, they knew that something was wrong and guessed what was going on. They were shocked by this guess. Other than the top 5 young geniuses, who else would be so important to Xue Feng and the others? Kid, aren't you very arrogant? Let's see how you're going to die. Xue Feng's eyes were cold. In the next moment, he unleashed his bloodline and performed bloodline fusion, pouncing toward Lu Ming. Kill. Lu Ming roared. His third bloodline appeared and a wisp of power entered Lu Ming's body, turning Lu Ming's hair blood red. His killing intent rushed out like a tide. At the same time, the 7 dragon powers erupted at the same time, raising Lu Ming's strength to a terrifying level. The third bloodline turned into a blood-red battle sword and was held in Lu Ming's hand. With a slash, a blood-red sword light cut through the void, illuminating the sky and slashing toward Xuefeng. This power. At this moment Xuefeng's eyes widened and he was terrified. This power was too shocking. It was much more powerful than the last time he fought with Lu Ming. It was much more powerful. Not good. Xuefeng's body turned cold as he tried his best to resist. But with a puff, the sword light slashed through. The blood leopard that Xuefeng had transformed into had one of its claws cut off and was sent flying far away. Xuefeng roared and retreated rapidly. At this moment, the 2 experts of the Sky Martial Sword sect had also arrived. 2 vast sword lights as large as mountains slashed toward Lu Ming. Lu Ming slashed out with his sword and destroyed the 2 sword lights. His figure did not stop as he rushed toward Xuefeng. Xuefeng was terrified and retreated rapidly. You can't escape. Chapter 1084. The 9 seals of the Gate of God appeared, emitting light and suppressing Xuefeng. Covered by the light of the Gate of Seal, Xuefeng was frozen in the air. He tried his best to release his true essence, trying to break the Gate of Seal. However, Lu Ming's cultivation had reached the 2nd level of the Spirit God realm, and the Gate of Seal was even more powerful. Xuefeng couldn't break it at all. No. He was extremely anxious and kept growling. Swoosh. Lu Ming rushed over and slashed down with his sword. With a bang, Xuefeng was cut in half. Xuefeng's original body appeared, vomiting blood with a deep wound on his chest. He wanted to retreat, but the Gate of Seal was still there. He couldn't retreat even if he wanted to. No, spare me. Xuefeng screamed in horror, but what greeted him was a sword light. Puchi. Xuefeng was cut in half. Even the spirit god in his body couldn't escape. It was smashed and turned into ashes. All of this happened in the blink of an eye. It was so fast that many people couldn't react in time. The 2 experts of the Sky Martial Sword sect wanted to save him, but it was too late. How could this be? The 2 experts of the Sky Martial Sword sect were about to launch a fierce attack on Lu Ming when they saw this scene. Their pupils shrank sharply and they subconsciously stopped in their tracks. Gasps could be heard coming from all around. Xuefeng was killed by Lu Ming in 2 moves. He couldn't resist at all. How could this be? Xuefeng had awakened a level 7 divine bloodline and his cultivation had reached the 4th level of the Spirit God realm. His combat strength was absolutely terrifying, but he was killed by Lu Ming so easily. This was unbelievable. Sandalwood Fairy, Kong Xian, and the people of the Medicine King Valley and the World Academy were dumbfounded. They were completely stunned and couldn't believe what they had seen. Wu Qingkong was even more tongue-tied. He was almost scared to death. It had only been a few days. A few days ago, Lu Ming could only fight to a draw with Xuefeng. With the help of the Gate of Seal, he barely had the upper hand. But now he had completely crushed Xuefeng. In just a few days, Lu Ming's combat strength had increased by a large margin. This was too shocking. It's your turn now. Lu Ming looked at the 2 experts from the Sky Martial Sword sect. His blood-red hair danced in the wind as his killing intent surged. The 2 experts from the Celestial Martial Sword sect were no longer as confident as before. Brother Lu, in my opinion, this is all a misunderstanding. One of them revealed a smile that was uglier than crying. Lu Ming, who was surrounded by the 3 of them, was still able to kill Xuefeng with a thunderous strike. This really frightened them. Misunderstanding? No, there is no misunderstanding. Today I will kill all of you. I don't need a reason. Lu Ming said indifferently. In the next moment, he took a step forward and rushed towards the 2 of them like a beam of bloody light. Damn it. Let's attack together and kill him. The 2 of them roared and unleashed their bloodlines at the same time, turning into 2 gigantic swords. Without a doubt, both of them had divine-grade bloodlines and had comprehended divine-grade martial skills. Their battle prowess was incomparably terrifying. Clang, clang. Sword cries rang out as the other experts from the Celestial Martial Sword faction made their move. Unsheathing their swords, sword beams shot up into the sky as they charged towards Lu Ming. Seal. The bloody sword floated in the air as Lu Ming formed a seal with both of his hands. A sealing gate flew out and enveloped one of the gigantic swords. In an instant, the gigantic swords were immobilized. Kill. Lu Ming held the sword in his hand and struck one of the swords away. At the same time he took several steps and the terrifying power of the 9 dragon sky-stomping steps erupted. Boom, boom, boom. After taking 7 consecutive steps, Lu Ming stepped on the sword that was sealed by the sealing gate. The sword immediately crumbled and Lu Ming's body appeared. However, with a flash of sword light, his head fell to the ground. The spiritual deity of this person flew out from his body in panic and fear. Bam, bam. Lu Ming's left hand executed the suppressing hell heaven art and slapped out continuously. His right hand held the bloody sword as he executed the 5 slaughter styles. Dang. The remaining 4th level spiritual deity's sword was sent flying as the sword body trembled continuously. The bloody sword slashed out millions of sword beams. The escaping spiritual deity let out a blood-curdling scream as he was turned into ashes by the sword beams. At the same time, a few Sky Martial Sword Sects experts were also killed by the sword beams. Lu Ming turned into a killing god as he charged towards the last 4th level spiritual deity. Run, run, run. At this moment, that person had been scared out of his wits and was running for his life. Lu Ming was too strong. Not to mention other things, just in terms of strength, Lu Ming had completely surpassed him. Coupled with the sealing gate, it was simply unstoppable. Where do you think you're going? Lu Ming stared at him and rushed past. Wherever he passed, he killed a few more Sky Martial Sword Sects experts. In an instant, Lu Ming approached rapidly and formed a seal with both of his hands. Another sealing gate appeared. That sword was instantly immobilized as Lu Ming charged forward. "No, spare me. Save me." That person roared, but the outcome was already decided. Lu Ming caught up and killed him with lightning speed. From then on, the 3 experts who wanted to kill Lu Ming were all killed by Lu Ming. He also killed a few Sky Martial Sword Sects experts along the way. The other Sky Martial Sword Sect members were terrified. How would they dare to fight? They all fled. So strong. The others present looked at Lu Ming in shock. They were tongue-tied and couldn't say a word. Lu Ming's combat strength was too shocking to kill 3 experts in a row. Yang Padian and Tuoba Shi looked at Lu Ming in the sky with a serious expression. Previously, they didn't put anyone else in their eyes except for each other. But now, Lu Ming attracted their attention. Looks like we have another opponent. Tuoba Shi licked his lips with battle intent in his eyes. Yang Potion's eyes flashed, but he didn't say anything. Just when everyone thought that the battle was over, Lu Ming didn't stop. That was because there was still one person alive. Wu Qingkong. Wu Qingkong was running for his life in fear. Damn it! How can Lu Shaoqing be so terrifying? His combat strength has increased too quickly. Once we get out, I must ask the experts in the sect to kill him. He must not be allowed to live. Wu Qingkong's mind was filled with venomous thoughts. Suddenly, he heard the sound of something breaking through the air. He turned around in shock and saw that Lu Ming was already behind him. Boom. Lu Ming could not be bothered to talk nonsense with him. He threw a punch and Wu Qingkong was smashed into pieces. However, Wu Qingkong obviously had a life talisman. With a flash of white light, the life talisman wrapped around him and he disappeared into the air. Lu Ming snorted and flew back to where he was. At this moment, everyone was looking at Lu Ming with awe and respect in their eyes. Too strong. Lu Ming's combat strength was far above the average second-class Sky Prides. His combat strength was comparable to the 5 giants. It seemed that there was going to be another young giant in the world. Brother Lu, Sandalwood Fairy's beautiful eyes flickered. She looked at Lu Ming and didn't know what to say. "Oh, I happened to have a breakthrough in my cultivation when I left 2 days ago," Lu Ming explained. Chapter 1085. Outside the World Academy's Jade Wall. The space trembled and Wu Qingkong appeared in a flash of white light. "Ah, damn it!" Wu Qingkong roared as soon as he appeared. Everyone's eyes turned to look at him. "Qingkong, what's going on?" One of the Celestial Martial Sword Sect Supremes frowned and asked Wu Qingkong. Wu Qingkong had been killed. 2 of the top geniuses of the Celestial Martial Sword Sect had died in battle. "Lu Shaoqing, it's that bastard Lu Shaoqing," Wu Qingkong roared like a mad beast. "What? Lu Shaoqing again?" Lu Shaoqing is a god of death. First, he killed Sanguinarum of Cold Blood Hall and many other experts. Then he killed Wu Tsong. Now even Wu Qingkong has been killed by him. Hee. 2 of the top geniuses of the Celestial Martial Sword Sect have died in the hands of the same person. How interesting. Cold Blood Hall's face darkened. Why did they have to mention Cold Blood Hall every time Lu Shaoqing was mentioned? Lu Shaoqing again. What? You're not with Wu Long and the others? The Celestial Martial Sword Sect Supremes asked. Wu Long was the top genius of the previous generation of the celestial martial sword sect. Wu Long and the others have been killed too. They're dead. Wu Qingkong gritted his teeth. What? Wu Long and the others are dead? Who did it? Did Yang Padian do it? The celestial martial sword sect supremes roared, believing that Yang Padian did it. No, it's Lu Shaoqing. He did it? Senior brother Wu Long, senior brother Wu Kai, and Xue Feng joined forces to kill Lu Shaoqing. Who would have thought that they would be killed by Lu Shaoqing instead? Wu Qingkong's face was ferocious as he explained the situation. The scene quieted down. Everyone's face was filled with shock. All of this was actually done by Lu Shaoqing alone. Even with the cooperation of 3 great experts, he was still able to create such a battle record. This was too shocking. Another giant. An elder exclaimed. The people of Cold Blood Hall wanted to cry. They had sent such a god of death in with the people of Cold Blood Hall. How sad. St. Mansion's secret realm. Bus. At that moment, the enormous mountain began to tremble. The radiance grew even more resplendent, bringing the crowd's gazes back to the enormous mountain. Lu Ming's gaze also landed on the huge mountain. He didn't devour the blood essence of Xue Feng and the rest because the monarch god was here. If he did that, the monarch god might notice something. Now was not the time to reveal his identity. The light from the mountain became more and more resplendent. Finally, 9 purple rays of light shot out. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Suddenly, amidst the purple light, a token flew out from each of them. It's the Sacred Mansion token. Snatch it. There are 9 pieces. This one is mine. Immediately, the scene became chaotic. All kinds of auras erupted and rushed toward the 9 command medallions. There was no doubt that the token that had rushed out of the giant mountain was the real token of the Saint Mansion. Scram! Yang Padian roared in anger. His aura was astonishing. The heavenly halberd in his hand swept out horizontally. Dozens of experts screamed miserably as they were cleaved in half, dying on the spot. Yang Padian made a grabbing motion, and a Saint Mansion token appeared in his hand. His eyes were like lightning as he scanned the surroundings. Everyone was shocked and did not dare to step forward. On the other side, Tuoba Shur waved his mace and smashed a group of people into meat paste. He then grabbed a Saint Mansion token. The others sighed. They knew that there was no point in thinking about these 2 tokens. This one is mine. Lu Ming stepped out and rushed toward the nearest Saint Mansion token. A terrifying murderous intent erupted. Many people were shrouded by his murderous intent, and their faces changed in horror. They quickly retreated, not daring to compete with Lu Ming. The power that Lu Ming had just created was too strong. Lu Ming reached out and grabbed a Sacred Mansion token. Yang Padian, Tuoba Shur, and Lu Ming each had a token. The others did not dare to compete with the 3 of them, so they could only target the others. This was a bloody battle and it was incomparably fierce. The experts of the major forces attacked with all their might to compete for the tokens. The palace left behind by an existence that surpassed the Emperor realm was too tempting. Even an Emperor realm expert would go crazy if they came, let alone them. People were constantly killed and corpses fell like raindrops. In the end, the Ji family gathered and obtained a token under the leadership of a LV4 spirit god expert. The World Academy and Medicine King Valley worked together and also obtained a token under the leadership of a LV4 spirit god expert. The Demon Mountain obtained a token. The most surprising thing was that the Emperor God obtained a token with the Space Will. He was so fast that no one could stop him. There was also a monk whose sleeves fluttered in the wind. He had a baby face and seemed harmless to humans and animals. He killed a group of experts with a single palm strike and seized a command medallion. Even Yang Padian and Tuoba Shur looked at the monk with a serious expression. The Western Desert Saint Monk. Yang Padian murmured to himself. It's that unscrupulous monk again. Lu Ming whispered. The last token fell into the hands of the Floating Mountain sect. As for the Cold Blood Hall, the Sky Eagle Castle and the Sky Martial Sword sect, they were very unhappy because their leaders had died in battle. Those who obtained tokens were separated into several areas, far away from the others. The others were helpless. Although they were excited, those who obtained tokens were very powerful. Only the Emperor God looked the weakest, but he had the Space Will, so no one could catch him. This is the Holy Mansion token. With this token you can enter the Holy Mansion. Lu Ming looked at the token in his hand and then injected his genuine qi into it. Buzz. The Sacred Mansion token suddenly trembled and emitted light. A halo enveloped Lu Ming. In addition, there were 3 more halos floating around him. Why are there 3 more halos? Lu Ming was a little surprised. At this time the others also realized the problem. As long as they injected their genuine chi, 4 halos would appear on the token. One of them would envelop them and the other 3 would appear. I know. These 3 halos mean that we can bring 3 more people in. That should be the case. I think there's a formation around the sacred mansion. We can only enter if we're enveloped by these halos. Some of them shouted and their eyes lit up. In that case, wouldn't there be an extra 27 spots? Many people looked at those who had obtained tokens, especially Yang. Since the Emperor God had obtained tokens alone, they had extra places. Brother D, I'm willing to pay a high price for 3 places. Can I? Bupo from the Sky Eagle Castle looked at the Emperor God and spoke first. Bupo, you're too greedy. Can you afford to buy 3 places? Someone was unhappy and wanted to buy a place from the Emperor God. Brother Yang, someone looked at Yang and wanted to buy a place from him. Get lost. Yang spat out coldly. Those people could only retreat. Chapter 1086. As for the G family, Floating Mountain, Demon Mountain, and the World Academy, they didn't even have enough tokens so they wouldn't sell them. For a time only Lu Ming, Monk Wuliang, and the Arch were available. Brother Lu. Sandalwood Fairy looked over. I'll give my slot to Medicine King Valley and the World Academy. Lu Ming smiled. The people from Medicine King Valley and the World Academy were overjoyed. They had 3 more slots now. In the end, Immortal Emperor sold the 3 spots. Unscrupulous Monk was all smiles. Finally he made a huge profit and sold the 3 spots as well. In this way, excluding Yang Potion's 3 slots, there were a total of 33 people who could enter. Bus. At this time the light of the giant mountain was extremely bright, forming a huge beam of light that shot into the sky. The beam of light hit the palace in the sky, making a deafening roar. Rumble. The palace slowly appeared. At first it seemed real and illusory, but slowly it became real. After a few minutes the palace became completely real. It was filled with an ancient aura, floating in the air like a huge city. Whoosh. Yang was the first to move. As if he was traveling through space, his body moved and appeared in front of the palace. He then stepped out and rushed in. Let's go, we can't let Yang beat us to it. The others who had a slot shouted and rushed forward, afraid that Yang would beat them to it. If there were treasures in the sacred residence, the first to enter would naturally be able to obtain the benefits. Whoosh, whoosh. Dozens of figures were shrouded in a circle of light as they rushed toward the palace. Lu Ming and the others were also among them. In front of the palace there was a half-open door. Yang was about to rush in. Go. The others also rushed in quickly. Nothing happened. Dozens of people rushed through the door. The others who didn't have a slot looked at each other. I don't think there's anything wrong at all. We don't necessarily need a token to enter. The news about the token is spread by the World Academy. It might not be true. Someone said with a fiery gaze. That's right. I don't think anyone from the World Academy has entered before. It's probably not true. There were others who agreed. Charge. I don't believe it. Some people couldn't hold it in any longer and rushed into the palace. However, as he flew, he suddenly let out a miserable shriek, and his entire body exploded, turning into ashes. The others were dumbfounded. Gulp. Those who said they didn't believe the World Academy just now all gasped and swallowed their saliva. Their faces were pale. If they had rushed forward, they would have been the ones to die. Lu Ming and the others rushed in and found a huge corridor. It was very long and extended all the way to the front. What a strong pressure. As soon as they entered this place, everyone landed on the ground. This was because there was a powerful pressure here and it was a restricted area. Moreover, not only could they not fly, but the pressure on their bodies was also extremely great, causing their speed to decrease by more than 100 times. This is gravity. Lu Ming sensed it carefully and found that this was gravity. It was 100 times stronger than the gravity outside. Everyone circulated their true essence and stepped forward. However, the gravity was too strong. Their speed was about the same as an ordinary person running. Compared to their original speed, it was a far cry. And this corridor seemed to be no less than 100 miles long. However, since they had entered this place, they could only move forward bravely. Gradually, the distance between them slowly increased. Bam! Bam! Yang walked in front. His body glowed as he strode forward. Then Tuobashir's muscles bulged. Like a wild beast, he also strode forward at an extremely fast speed. In addition, Lu Ming's speed was also extremely fast, second only to Tuobashir. As for the unscrupulous monk, His body was covered in golden light as he walked beside Lu Ming. The two of them came in slightly later, so they were slightly behind Yang Padian and the unscrupulous monk. Behind them were a few burly men. They were the strongest prodigies of the previous generation of their respective forces. Their cultivation had reached the 4th level of the spirit god realm. What was surprising was that the arch-god was also walking beside these people. He had the space concept, so the pressure he faced was much less. As for the second-grade prodigies like Lady Sandalwood and Kong Xan, they were further behind. Everyone strode forward. Slowly they became more and more accustomed to the gravity here, and their speed became faster and faster. This trip lasted for 2 days. Yang Padian was the first to walk out of the corridor and rushed out. "Stop right there." Tuobashir shouted and followed closely behind Yang Padian. Then Lu Ming and the unscrupulous monk also stepped out and walked out of the corridor. Boom, boom. When they walked out of the corridor, they heard a violent roar. In front of the corridor was a large hall. Tuobashir and Yang Padian were fighting fiercely. The halberd and mace kept colliding and the roar was deafening. On both sides of the hall there were rows of shelves. On the shelves were some jade bottles, jade boxes and chests. Obviously the two were fighting for these things. This was the legendary sacred abode of an existence that surpassed the Emperor realm. How precious would the things inside be? Without hesitation, Lu Ming and the unscrupulous monk's eyes lit up as they rushed toward the shelves on both sides. "Get lost. You're courting death." Yang Padian and Tuobashir roared and charged toward the two. Tuobashir attacked the unscrupulous monk. He waved his mace and crushed the void. It was like a mountain range smashing toward the unscrupulous monk. "My hair, my Buddha is merciful." The unscrupulous monk chanted the name of Buddha. His body emitted a golden light, and he looked solemn as if he was the reincarnation of Buddha. He slapped out a golden palm print and collided with the mace. With a boom, he blocked Tuobashir's attack and the two began to fight. On the other side, Yang Padian charged toward Lu Ming. The halberd slashed down and the space directly cracked. It even turned into the power of space and wrapped around the halberd, making it more destructive. Lu Ming's 5-colored conception surrounded him, and the 7 dragon powers were added to his body. His blood-red hair fluttered in the wind. The battle sword formed by the 3rd bloodline in his hand changed and turned into a blood-red halberd. The 3rd bloodline was a drop of blood. It could be transformed into a sword, a spear, a saber, or a halberd at will. It could be transformed into anything. Clang. Lu Ming held the blood-red halberd in his hand and slashed down, colliding with Yang Potion's halberd. Clang. A terrifying vibration was heard. The two figures swayed slightly and then fought again. Boom, 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 boom. In the main hall, the 4 of them fought against each other. It was hard to tell who had the upper hand. Peak 2nd level spirit god. Lu Ming realized that Yang Potion's cultivation was at the peak 2nd level spirit god, which was not much higher than his. However, his combat strength was extremely terrifying. He was the strongest young expert that Lu Ming had ever met. The 4 of them fought in the main hall. In the blink of an eye, they had exchanged dozens of blows. Chapter 1087. The eyes of the 4 of them flashed. Almost at the same time, they gave up on their opponents and rushed toward the shelves on both sides. They understood that they could not do anything to their opponents for the time being. If they continued to fight, the situation would become even more chaotic when there were more people. Therefore, the 4 of them began to plunder the treasures on the shelves at the same time. Lu Ming waved his hand and a white light spread out, enveloping the jade bottles, jade boxes, metal boxes and so on the shelves. They were all put into the mountain river diagram. There was no time to see what they were now. They would put them away first. The 4 of them searched frantically. In just a few breaths, the items on the shelves had been swept clean. In particular, the unscrupulous monk actually put a shelf into his storage ring, which made people speechless. But then Lu Ming and the others followed suit and put away the shelves. At this time, a few more figures rushed out of the corridor. They looked at the empty hall on both sides and were stunned. Whoosh, whoosh. At this moment, Lu Ming and the others had already rushed into the depths of the hall. There was a door there. Charge. The experts behind them, including the Emperor God, rushed forward at the same time, following closely behind Lu Ming and the others. After rushing through the door, they arrived at another hall. However, this one was bigger and empty. On the opposite side of the hall, there was still a door and a faint light spread out. Their eyes lit up and they rushed in at top speed. It was still a hall, but it was exceptionally spacious. In the air of the hall, there were 4 balls of light shining dazzlingly. They were 4 weapons floating in the air. They were of different colors, but they emitted terrifying pressure. These are ruler spiritual weapons. Yang Padian growled and immediately rushed toward one of them. Lu Ming's eyes also lit up. The so-called ruler spiritual weapons were the emperors of spiritual weapons. Just like the martial emperors of martial artists, they stood at the peak of many spiritual weapons. Ruler spiritual weapons were top-grade level 9 spiritual weapons. Even some rulers might not have them. This was because ruler spiritual weapons had domains that could assist rulers in battle. Even if a ruler came here, he would be envious, let alone them. They immediately rushed towards an emperor's spirit weapon. Lu Ming rushed towards a small fiery red pagoda. The small pagoda looked like it was made of fire jade, and it emitted an astonishing amount of heat. Sovereign spirit weapon. Behind him, the other experts also arrived. When they saw the emperor's spirit weapons, their eyes immediately turned red and were filled with greed as they pounced towards the 4 weapons. One of them pounced on Lu Ming. One of them was a robust man that was over 40 years old and possessed a cultivation at the 4th level of the spirit god realm. The other was an imperial god. However, Lu Ming was 1 step faster. His body was like a stream of light as he appeared in front of the small pagoda and reached out to grab it. However, just as Lu Ming was about to grab it, the small pagoda emitted a halo of light. Lu Ming's grab was actually unable to grab it. Inscription formation. Lu Ming's eyes moved. This small pagoda was protected by an inscription array. However, Lu Ming felt that as long as he spent some time, he would be able to break it. Bang. Lu Ming turned his claw into a palm and slashed at the halo. Bang. The halo trembled, but it was still blocked. At this moment, the imperial god and the robust man also rushed over. The emperor's spirit weapon is mine. The robust man's eyes turned red as he attacked the small pagoda. The imperial god slashed out with his sword and slashed at the halo. After 2 bangs, the halo was still intact. Get lost. Lu Ming shouted coldly as the blood halberd swept out and attacked the robust man and the imperial god at the same time. The 2 of them were shocked and tried to block it at the same time. The blood halberd carried a terrifying murderous aura as it surged like a tide and suppressed everything. With a bang, the 2 of them were swept away by Lu Ming. Kill? Lu Ming stared at the imperial god and charged towards him. He planned to kill the imperial god here. The imperial god was the most outstanding descendant of Di. As long as he killed the imperial god, Di would probably be heartbroken. Whoosh. The blood halberd pressed down and slashed at the imperial god's head. The imperial god's face was extremely solemn. The space around his body began to tremble like water waves. Great space slash. The imperial god said solemnly. He held the sword with both hands and slashed out. The space tumbled and a terrifying crack slashed towards Lu Ming. This crack had the power to cut through space and could cut through everything. Of course, this was relative. The blood halberd in Lu Ming's hand changed and turned back into the blood sword. With a flash of sword radiance, the space was cut open, including the great space slash. This was the terrifying part of the 5 slaughter styles. No matter what weapon was used, it could unleash its power. This was because the 5 slaughter styles was not mainly about the moves but about the intent. Once the intent was reached, any weapon would be able to unleash its power. The imperial god's face changed and he quickly retreated. Kill. Lu Ming's blood-red hair fluttered as his murderous aura surged. He stepped forward and charged towards the imperial god. Clang. The imperial god tried his best to block, but he was no match. He spat out blood and retreated with a pale face. It had to be said that the imperial god was strong. He had merged the space will, sword will and golden flames will. Especially after his space will reached the 4th level, it was even more mysterious and terrifying. His combat strength was even stronger than Wu Qingkong's. However, compared to Lu Ming, he was still a distance away. He was no match for him. Lu Ming's eyes were cold as he closed in on the imperial god. The imperial god had no choice but to use the transient step. His body kept flickering. Whoosh, whoosh. Lu Ming formed a seal with both hands and a sealed gate was formed. The imperial god's face changed drastically. He had seen Lu Ming use the sealed gate to seal Xue Feng and the others and then kill them. Space escape. Di Shen roared and coughed out a mouthful of blood. However, his body became illusory. Finally, with a bang, his body dissipated and turned into an illusory shadow. His real body had already disappeared without a trace. No one knew where it had escaped to. Lu Ming looked at the defense line outside the main hall. Just a moment ago, the Emperor God had actually traveled through space and appeared in a main hall outside. What a mysterious space will. Lu Ming's eyes flashed coldly. He did not continue to pursue. There were many opportunities to kill the imperial god. Get lost. He turned around and rushed toward the brawny man. The brawny man was trying his best to break the small pagoda's array. Lu Ming rushed back and struck out with his palm. The brawny man was sent flying while vomiting blood. The brawny man looked at Lu Ming with a grave expression. On the other side, an expert from each side rushed toward Yang Padian, Unscrupulous Monk and Tuobashir. The experts who rushed toward Unscrupulous Monk and Tuobashir vomited blood and retreated. As for the experts who rushed toward Yang Padian, they were trapped by Yang Potion's space will and killed in one blow. Yang Padian was not in a good mood today. Originally he was high and mighty in the central continent. Other than the other 4 of the 5 young giants, no one was his match. However, in this trip to the Saint Mansion's secret realm, Tuobashir appeared first. His combat strength was not weaker than Yang Potion's and he fought with him several times. Later, Lu Ming and Unscrupulous Monk appeared one after another. They displayed astonishing combat strength that was not weaker than Yang Padian. Moreover, Yang Padian had never seen them before. This made him extremely unhappy and angry. Chapter 1088. The other experts' expressions were ugly, but they did not dare to continue snatching. The combat power of Lu Ming and the other 3 was too strong. Obviously they were much stronger than them. If they went crazy and went all out to kill them, they would be in danger. For a moment, no one dared to fight with Lu Ming and the others. However, after a flash of light in their eyes, they bypassed Lu Ming and the others and rushed into the depths of the hall. There was a door there that led inside. Boom, boom. Lu Ming kept attacking. His third bloodline turned into a sword and slashed at the light shield protecting the small pagoda. After dozens of attacks, the light shield was finally broken. Lu Ming was overjoyed and grabbed the small pagoda. It's so hot. Lu Ming felt that his palm was almost burned, and there was a meaty smell. Lu Ming quickly put the small pagoda into the mountain river diagram. Almost at the same time, Yang Padian and the others also broke the formation and put away the treasures. At the same time, the 4 of them rushed inside. There was another hall inside. Rumble. As soon as they entered the hall, they saw that the masters were fighting fiercely. There was only one thing floating in the air of the main hall. It was a jade plate that was sparkling and translucent, emitting a vast and boundless pressure. This pressure was too shocking, surpassing everything. It was as if it was the embodiment of the entire world. It was incomparably terrifying, far surpassing the sovereign spiritual weapon from before. What kind of treasure is this? It's amazing. Lu Ming was a little stunned. Yang Padian and the others were also a little dazed. Then their eyes lit up with a blazing fire. Judging by its aura, it had surpassed the Emperor's spiritual weapon. It must be a peerless divine weapon used by someone who had surpassed the martial Emperor realm. It seemed that the World Academy was right. This was indeed the residence of someone who had surpassed the martial Emperor realm. How terrifying would a divine weapon used by someone who had surpassed the martial Emperor realm be? Whoosh, whoosh. Almost at the same time, the 4 of them rushed toward the jade plate. Get lost. Go. Their attacks were aimed at the masters. The masters' faces changed drastically. They quickly blocked the attacks and retreated with injuries. Damn it. Those people were furious and sullen, but there was nothing they could do. They were truly helpless. They were all geniuses of the previous generation. In their era they were all powerful figures. They were high and mighty, looking down on geniuses of the same generation. But after 10 or 20 years, the current generation had reached the golden age. Each and every one of the geniuses was countless times more brilliant than them. And now, the geniuses of the younger generation had to berate them and suppress them. This made them feel a sense of sorrow. This treasure is mine. Yang Potion's eyes flashed with cold, killing intent. What a joke, who do you think you are? Tuobashir shouted coldly, not giving Yang Padian any face. And me, I think this treasure is fated to be with this poor monk. Everyone, please don't fight with this little monk over it. Unscrupulous Monk still had a smile on his face, but his fiery eyes betrayed him. Lu Ming was too lazy to talk nonsense with them and rushed towards the jade plate. Boom. A golden palm print covered Lu Ming. It was that heartless monk. Benefactor, this treasure is really fated to be with this little monk. Why do you have to fight with this little monk over it? Unscrupulous Monk said. Fated my ass. Stupid monk, get lost. Lu Ming slashed at Unscrupulous Monk with his sword, colliding with the golden palm print. Benefactor, don't be angry. Unscrupulous Monk shouted. His body glowed like a golden Buddha as he threw out a few palm strikes with terrifying power. Stupid monk, stop pretending in front of me. You were the one who used a fake sacred mansion token to cause a huge battle. Don't think that others don't know. I saw it by chance. Lu Ming shouted. Unscrupulous monk's face stiffened. Yang Padian and Tuoba Shi, who were fighting, stopped and looked at unscrupulous monk coldly. So you're the one who stirred up trouble. Stupid monk, die. Yang Padian roared and charged towards unscrupulous monk. Tuoba Shi also held his mace and charged towards unscrupulous monk. The two of them were filled with killing intent towards unscrupulous monk. How could they be fooled by unscrupulous monk? They had been trying to find out who the mastermind was. My hair. Benefactors, it's a misunderstanding. Unscrupulous monk shouted and jumped up and down, trying his best to defend himself. Lu Ming moved and pounced towards the jade plate. Buzz. Suddenly, the jade plate vibrated and emitted a terrifying aura. Lu Ming felt like he was going against heaven and earth. He spat out a mouthful of blood and fell down. Buzz. Buzz. The jade plate vibrated slightly and emitted a supreme light. Countless inscriptions appeared in the hall and formed terrifying chain-like objects that danced in the hall. Unscrupulous monk Yang Padian and Tuoba Shi could not help but stop what they were doing and look around in shock. They were also greatly shocked by the sudden change in events. What's going on? At this moment, a group of people rushed in. It was Sandalwood Fairy, Kong Xan, and the Emperor God. At this moment, the people behind had already arrived. When they saw this scene, they were inexplicably shocked. Whoosh! A vortex suddenly appeared on the ground. The vortex was black and it emitted a terrifying suction and devouring force. Oh no! Save me! A few of the weaker cultivators screamed as they were devoured by the vortex and disappeared without a trace. Oh no! Lu Ming and the rest rushed up to the sky, but it was extremely difficult for them. The devouring force was too strong and it was pulling them down. Save me! A sharp cry was heard as Yin Bupo transformed into his true form, a giant eagle. He flapped his wings with all his might in an attempt to defend himself. However, he could not do so and was being pulled down. With a loud roar, his figure disappeared. At the same time, Kong Xian was also being devoured. Sandalwood Fairy's glabella emitted a silver light. Elixir pills flew out and formed a pair of wings to support her. However, she was still sinking rapidly. Get out of here! Lu Ming roared and flew towards Sandalwood Fairy. He grabbed her slender waist and tried to bring her out of the hall. However, it was impossible. The devouring force was too strong and he could not move her at all. Brother Lu, don't worry about me. Escape by yourself. Sandalwood Fairy pushed Lu Ming and fell into the vortex. At this moment, Yang Padian and the rest tried their best to get out of the hall. However, it was useless. The devouring force was too strong and they could not get out. Lu Ming was in the same situation. His body was sinking too. No. Lu Ming saw a few level 4 spirit gods and the Emperor God being devoured. In the end, only Lu Ming, Yang Padian, and Scrupulous Monk and Tuoba Shi were left. Buzz. Suddenly, the devouring force surged and multiplied several times. Lu Ming and the other 3 were swallowed and dashed into the vortex. Chapter 1089. Lu Ming felt like he was drifting in the eternal darkness, not knowing where he was drifting to. Slowly, his mind became more and more confused as if his memories were fading. Everything that happened in the past seemed to become blurry and slowly dissipated. Slowly, Lu Ming became oblivious to everything. After an unknown period of time, Lu Ming suddenly sat up. With a creak, he found himself sitting on a bed. Where is this? What happened to me? I seem to have had a very long dream just now. Lu Ming looked around in confusion. At this moment, the door opened and a beautiful girl walked in. The girl was 14 or 15 years old and was very beautiful. When she saw Lu Ming wake up, she immediately revealed a happy smile and cheered, "Brother Ming, you're finally awake. You really scared me to death." Yao. Looking at Lu Yao's worried expression, Lu Ming felt warm in his heart. He then asked, "Yao, what happened to me? I remember that I went to awaken my bloodline 3 days ago. What happened after that?" "Brother Ming, you went to awaken your bloodline 3 days ago. During the process you suddenly fainted. You have been unconscious for 3 days. During these 3 days you have been having nightmares. You kept calling out strange names like D. Brother Ming, are you alright?" Lu Yao said worriedly. "I'm fine. It's just a nightmare." Lu Ming smiled faintly. He really had a dream. It was a very long dream. But for some reason that dream was becoming more and more blurry in his mind. He almost couldn't remember it. He only vaguely felt that in that dream Lu Yao left him. Later on, he obtained a treasure, cultivated to become an expert, and went on an adventure on the continent. He only had a vague impression of it. But the more he thought about it, the more blurry and ethereal the dream became. What a strange dream. Lu Ming smiled. He, Lu Ming, was just a useless young master in Fiery Wind City who couldn't cultivate. How could he have such a strange dream? Yao, did my bloodline awakening fail? Lu Ming asked. Brother Ming. Lu Yao wanted to say something but stopped. Say it. I'm fine. Lu Ming smiled. Brother Ming, it's a failure but it's fine. Even if Brother Ming can't cultivate, your place in Yao Er's heart won't change. My father has already discussed it with your mother. In half a month we will hold our wedding. Lu Yao blinked her eyes and said. After she finished speaking, she was a little shy and her face was a little red. The wedding will be held in half a month? Lu Ming was slightly taken aback. At this moment he didn't know why, but he felt an indescribable pain in his heart. A figure appeared in his mind. This figure was very blurry and he couldn't see the face clearly. It was a person that Lu Ming had met in his dream. A woman. A feeling of reluctance rippled in Lu Ming's heart. This figure seemed to be very important to him. Who is she? Why do I feel heartache? Was it really a dream? Lu Ming muttered to himself in a daze. Brother Ming, what's wrong? Don't scare Yao. Lu Yao called out softly. Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat. He reacted and smiled. Nothing, I just thought of that dream again. Brother Ming, after all, it's just a dream. Don't think too much. Drink the medicine. Lu Yao picked up the medicine and fed it to Lu Ming. At this moment, two people walked in from outside the door. One was a beautiful woman, and the other was a beautiful teenage girl. Mother, Mid-Autumn Moon. Lu Ming called out. Ming, have a good rest. In half a month you will be the groom. Li Ping smiled slightly, revealing a doting expression. Yes, young master. Mid-Autumn Moon, congratulations to you. The girl by the side said softly. Mid-Autumn Moon. Lu Ming looked at Mid-Autumn Moon. In that dream, Mid-Autumn Moon seemed to have become a martial arts genius. However, it was just a feeling. Lu Ming felt that the dream was a little blurrier. As time passed, it slowly faded away. Ming, you just woke up. Have a good rest. Don't think too much. Li Ping said. Then she left the room with Mid-Autumn Moon and Lu Yao. That dream is so strange. Who is that figure? In the room, Lu Ming was lying on the bed in a daze. Time passed quickly. Day by day, Lu Ming's body recovered quickly. The dream in his mind became more and more blurred. As time passed, it became more and more blurred. He believed that he would soon forget it completely. But he didn't know why. Every time he thought of that dream, a figure would appear, causing Lu Ming to feel a piercing pain in his heart. Who is that figure? Why does it feel so real? Lu Ming whispered. That was the figure of a woman. In Lu Ming's mind it was hard to erase. In the backyard of the Lu family, a small stream flowed. Beside the stream there was a pavilion. In the pavilion, a young man and a young woman were cuddling together. Brother Ming, Yao will marry you tomorrow. We will never be separated from each other again. Lu Yao said softly. Her eyes were filled with anticipation and shyness. Lu Ming hugged Lu Yao. His mood was extremely relaxed. The gentle breeze emitted a faint fragrance of flowers. This is really good. Lu Ming looked at the sky and thought. If he couldn't cultivate, then so be it. Wouldn't it be good if he could live an ordinary life? Lu Ming enjoyed such a life. That dream was ultimately a dream. Just let it drift away with the wind. Only that figure couldn't be erased. Occasionally, it would appear in Lu Ming's mind. Lu Ming, wake up. Suddenly, a voice entered Lu Ming's ears. Lu Ming was stunned. He turned his head and looked around, but he didn't see anyone. Lu Yao was still in his arms as if she didn't hear anything. What are you looking at? I'm here in the stream. That voice sounded again. Lu Ming was shocked and hurriedly looked toward the stream. He saw a little tortoise floating in the stream, staring at him with its eyes wide open. Are you talking to me? Lu Ming's pupils suddenly widened, revealing a look of disbelief. What are you looking at? Who else could it be if not me? The little turtle berated. Brother Ming, what's wrong? Who are you talking to? Lu Yao looked at Lu Ming in surprise. Lu Ming took a deep breath to calm himself down. He said, nothing, you heard wrong. Yao, you can go back first. I'll pick you up tomorrow. Okay, I'll wait for you. Lu Yao blinked his eyes and trotted away. Then Lu Ming looked at the little turtle again and said in surprise, A tortoise? No, a turtle can actually talk. Could it be a legendary king-level turtle? No, senior, it's senior. Junior. Lu Ming pays his respects to senior. Lu Ming bowed to the little turtle. As far as he knew, only the legendary demonic beast that had reached the king level could speak. He was shocked that there was a king-level monster in the backyard of the Lu family. There might not even be a king-level monster in the entire Burning Sun Empire. King level, my ass. I'm the world turtle, the head of the top 10 battle beasts. What king level? It's not even worthy to carry my shoes. Boy, Lu Ming, you're in an illusion. Wake up quickly. Are you going to stay in it for the rest of your life? Chapter 1090. Illusion? Dreamland? That's impossible. Me. I remember everything that happened to me. How could I be in a dreamland? Senior, you must be joking. Lu Ming furrowed his brows. What are you joking about? You're Lu Ming. In the real world, you were deprived of your bloodline by Lu Yao. Thanks to the help of the 9 Yang remnant spirit, you merged with the 9 dragons' blood essence and awakened your bloodline. Have you forgotten? Little Tortoise shouted. What? Yao deprived me of my bloodline? Impossible? How is that possible? Nonsense. Lu Ming was in disbelief. However, after hearing Little Tortoise's words, the dream he had back then, which was getting fainter and fainter, it seemed to have become clearer. Nonsense. Also, you rose in the end, participated in the Battle of Luck, won first place, and became the first on the list of top 1,000 talents in the Eastern Wilderness. Moreover, you're the Zongzi of the Talisman Puppet Sect. Now the Talisman Puppet Sect is besieged by Martial Emperor De and is in danger. Don't you care? Little Tortoise scolded loudly. With every word, Lu Ming's body trembled slightly. His eyes were filled with complicated emotions. Talisman Puppet Sect, list of top 1,000 talents. Lu Ming muttered to himself. He felt that the dream was getting clearer and clearer, as if it was about to appear. What's your name? I seem to have had a dream before. There was also a little tortoise. Lu Ming's eyes looked even more perplexed. His dream world was slowly emerging. He was in the midst of the intersection between dream world and reality. He could not tell which was real and which was fake. Perhaps everything was just a dream? Little Tortoise held back for a long time. His eyes widened and finally he shouted, My name is Dandan. You gave it to me, you bastard. It's so fucking unpleasant. Dandan. Lu Ming muttered to himself. You seem to have thought of something. Also, your little lover, your little wife, Xian Yanqing, don't you care about her? She was caught by her father and her life is uncertain. Are you going to give up just like that? Dandan shouted. Boom, boom, boom. The name Xian Yanqing exploded in Lu Ming's mind like a thunderbolt. That figure that could not be erased, that figure that made his heart ache at the thought of, suddenly became clear and vivid in Lu Ming's mind. Lu Ming. Yanqing, Yanqing. This is an illusion. Lu Ming's eyes lit up all of a sudden, emitting endless brilliance. Everything the surrounding scenery seemed to have been shattered by Lu Ming's punch. It began to peel off and eventually disappeared completely. Lu Ming discovered that he was standing in a long corridor. Dandan was lying on his shoulder. Lu Ming let out a long breath. He was extremely shocked. That illusion was too powerful. It erased his real memory and made him fall into an illusion forever. He couldn't extricate himself. This time it was really dangerous. If it weren't for Dandan, he might really be trapped in the illusion forever. That would be equivalent to dying. Thinking of this, Lu Ming couldn't help but feel a little scared. His back was wet with cold sweat. Kid, this place is no small matter. Emperors can't do it. Be careful. I'm going to hide. After Dandan finished speaking, it automatically went into the mountain river diagram. Lu Ming looked around. He remembered that they were swallowed by a vortex, but he was the only one around. Yang Padian, Tuoba Shur, Sandalwood Ferry, and the others were nowhere to be seen. This was a passage that led straight ahead. Lu Ming pondered for a moment and walked forward. After walking through the passage, he arrived at a secret room. The secret room was very large. Above the secret room, Lu Ming saw a longan-sized bead floating in the air. The moment Lu Ming stepped into the secret room, the bead suddenly emitted a dazzling light. Amidst the light, a figure appeared. The figure sat cross-legged in the air, and the bead happened to be between the figure's eyebrows. The figure was not very burly, but the aura it emitted was earth-shattering. It gave Lu Ming the feeling that he was facing the heavenly path. A vast heavenly might filled the air. It was irresistible and unstoppable. This was Lu Ming's intuition because facing this figure was like facing the entire world. It was not that Lu Ming had never felt the majesty and pressure of a ruler, but compared to this figure, it was simply child's play. It was as if a ruler was an ant in front of this figure. Gulp. Lu Ming swallowed a mouthful of saliva and raised his head with difficulty to look at the figure. Fortunately, the supreme aura was restrained after a slight release. The figure opened his eyes and looked at Lu Ming. At this moment, Lu Ming felt as if he had been completely seen through. You actually managed to break through the illusion I set up. Not bad. The figure said. Junior Lu Ming greets Senior. Lu Ming bowed. He knew that the existence above the ruler in the World Academy was most likely the figure in front of him. He was secretly shocked. It was said that the Saint Mansion's secret realm had existed for hundreds of thousands of years. Could it be that the person in front of him had lived for hundreds of thousands of years? This was really unimaginable. As if seeing through Lu Ming's thoughts, the figure said, "Little guy, don't think too much. I can't have lived for so many years. What you see is just the sacred heart I left behind and a trace of my origin imprint. The real me has already fallen many years ago." Sacred heart? Lu Ming was puzzled. He didn't understand what a sacred heart was at all. Well, it's normal that you don't understand. You're in a remote and barren island, so it's normal that you don't know. Above the ruler is the Saint Realm, also known as the Saint Realm. You've condensed a sacred heart. The figure explained casually. Saint Realm, Saint Realm. Lu Ming muttered to himself. He finally knew what the realm above the ruler realm was. Saint Realm, Saint Realm. The figure in front of him must be a Saint Realm expert. Well, little guy, you have great luck. Unfortunately, you're not an inscriber. When I was alive, I became a saint through the path of inscription. Otherwise, I could pass on my mantle to you. The figure suddenly let out a long sigh. Inscriber inheritance. Lu Ming's eyes lit up. Although he wasn't an inscriber, his second body was. This time he focused on the path of inscription and had progressed to an extremely profound realm. It would be great if his second body was here. Senior, did the others not pass the illusion? Lu Ming asked. No, they all failed. However, I won't really make things difficult for them. They've all woken up. The saint waved his hand and a series of images suddenly appeared in the air. Yang Padian, Tuoba Shur, Monk Wuliang, Kong Xan, and the others were in a secret room looking around. Sandalwood Fairy. Chapter 1091. This little girl is very talented in the path of inscription, but unfortunately she's still a little lacking. I'll give her some benefits and hope that she can benefit from it. The saint said. Lu Ming was happy for Sandalwood Fairy. Although the saint had already fallen, he was still a saint when he was alive, an existence that surpassed the emperor's. If he said that he would give some benefits, it would definitely be no small matter. Even the emperors would be jealous. All right, little guy, since you were able to come here and pass my test, I won't let you go back empty-handed. I'll give you some benefits and then send you out. With that, the saint waved his hand and the images disappeared without a trace. Senior, wait a minute, I might be able to inherit your mantle. Lu Ming hurriedly said. You? Haha, little guy, don't talk nonsense. I see that you don't have any spirit fire at all. How can you inherit my mantle? The saint smiled faintly, looking very calm. Senior, have you heard of the twin life restriction? Lu Ming asked. Twin life restriction? The saint frowned slightly and looked puzzled. Obviously he had never heard of it. Senior, the twin life restriction can allow one to cultivate a second body. Lu Ming immediately told him about the twin life restriction and what he had obtained. When the saint first heard that the twin life restriction could actually allow one to cultivate a second body that was the same as the original body and could be cultivated wholeheartedly, he was extremely shocked. Even with his knowledge, he had never heard of such a strange technique in the world. Later on, when he heard that Lu Ming had obtained it in the Battle of Providence, he felt relieved. It was not strange to obtain any kind of fortuitous encounter in the Battle of Providence. This was because the saint had also participated in the Battle of Providence when he was young. There's actually such a secret technique in the world. According to what you said, not only did your second body inherit your talent, but it also has no distracting thoughts. In that case, it's really suitable for my mantle. The saint sighed and his eyes lit up. Back then, due to an accident, he was seriously injured and on the verge of death. He fled to the divine wilderness continent and found this mystic realm in order to avoid his enemies, but in the end he still died there, leaving behind his saint heart and a wisp of imprint. The imprint was attached to the saint heart, which was why it could be preserved for so many years, but it would dissipate sooner or later. However, when an expert was about to fall, they would not wish for their life's cultivation and achievements to go up in smoke. They would want to find a suitable successor to pass on their legacy. Lu Ming was undoubtedly a suitable candidate. But Senior, my second body is currently trapped in a place by an enemy. I'm afraid it won't be able to come for the time being. Lu Ming sighed. Oh, how about this? You take this disc array. As long as you give this disc array to your second body and let him activate the inscriptions on it, you can be directly transmitted here. A disc array appeared in the saint's hand and handed it to Lu Ming. Lu Ming was overjoyed. He took it and thanked the saint again. Well, my name is Tian Xian. You can call me Tian Xian Saint. That's it. I'll send you out now. There's no need to open this secret realm anymore. I'll seal this secret realm forever. No one can enter. After the heavenly profound saint finished speaking, he was about to send Lu Ming and the others out. Senior, please wait. Lu Ming blurted out. The heavenly profound saint was startled. Allow me to disguise myself. I still have enemies outside. Lu Ming chuckled as his figure changed once again. A moment later, his figure became thinner and turned into a pale-faced young man. Even his aura changed tremendously. Now no one could recognize him. Done, Lu Ming said. The heavenly profound saint waved his hand, causing the space to twist. Lu Ming felt a force pulling him away, causing his figure to disappear instantly. At this moment, Sandalwood Fairy Yang Padian, and the others outside the Saint Mansion were all enveloped by a power and disappeared. World Academy, outside the all-knowing Jade Disc. The 9 light pillars suddenly disappeared, allowing the all-knowing Jade Disc to return to its calm state. What just happened? The place was immersed in an uproar. Even the 9 Heavens Supremes were astounded. What just happened? Why did the 9 light pillars suddenly disappear? Those who went in haven't come out yet. A supremacy from a major faction said with a grim expression. Many people looked at a supremacy from the World Academy. I don't know either. This has never happened before. The supremacy from the World Academy said solemnly. Can you open it again? The supremacy asked. The supremacy from the World Academy shook his head, causing an uproar among the crowd. There were many people from the various major powers within. In fact, the strongest successors of the Floating Mountain and Devil Mountain were all within as well. If they were to be trapped within, it would be an incomparably huge loss for them. However, the people from the Sky Martial Sword Sect and the Cold Blood Hall were gloating. This was because their successors had been killed by Lu Ming and they had come out long ago. The most outstanding prodigies of the previous generation had also been killed. Even if the rest of them did not come out, they would not have suffered as great a loss as the other forces. At this moment, the space above the all-knowing Jade Disc twisted as figures emerged one by one. They're out. They're out. Many people were overjoyed. More than 10,000 people appeared in the sky. The crowd saw Yang Padian, Sandalwood Fairy, Kong Xan, and other geniuses among them. What's going on? How's the sacred mansion? One by one, the supremacies asked with excitement in their eyes. Previously, when Wu Qingkong was killed, they learned about the sacred mansion from Wu Qingkong. They were all shocked but also looked forward to it. They couldn't wait to rush in themselves. An existence surpassing the Emperor realm was too tempting, especially for many supremacies. They were stuck at the supremacy level and couldn't break through to the Emperor realm. If they could obtain the inheritance or enlightenment of an existence surpassing the Emperor realm, they might be able to break through. In a flash, Sandalwood Fairy, Kong Xn Junyu, and the others flew to their respective supremacies and told them about the situation in the sacred mansion. What? You all failed. When they heard that Kong Xin and the other geniuses didn't pass the test, they sighed with regret. But then they looked at Yang Padian, Tuoba Shi, and Monk Wuliang. These people had surpassed the second-tier geniuses. They were the top geniuses. Perhaps they had succeeded? My hair Buddha is merciful. I'm ashamed. My mind is not strong enough. I still need to train myself. Monk Wuliang had a solemn expression as he chanted the name of Buddha. His face was filled with compassion. Lu Ming among the crowd looked at him with disdain. If he hadn't seen the monk's true appearance, he would have mistaken him for an eminent monk. Monk Wuliang's words implied that he had failed too. Damn it, that illusion is too powerful. I didn't pass it either. Tuoba Shi grinned. Tuoba Shi will fight another day, Yang Padian said coldly. Then he stepped out and headed out of the World Academy, disappearing in an instant. No one tried to stop him. Not only was Yang Padian a peerless talent, he was also from the heaven-suppressing godly troop. Chapter 1092. It was obvious that he had failed as well. It seemed that no one had succeeded this time. No, there was one more person. Everyone's heart skipped a beat. Where was Lu Shaoqing, the young genius who had killed Shui Luozi and the experts of Cold Blood Hall, Wu Tsang, Shui Feng and the other LV4 spirit gods, and Wu Qingkong? Why was he nowhere to be seen? Where's Lu Shaoqing? The Supremes of Cold Blood Hall and Sky Martial Sword Sect scanned the area with their sharp eyes. They spread out their spiritual senses to search for Lu Ming. Supremes, Lu Shaoqing is good at disguising himself. He can even change his aura. He must be in the crowd. Sanguinarum shouted. He had fought with Lu Shaoqing in Pill City, so he knew Lu Shaoqing's appearance and aura very well. However, Lu Shaoqing's appearance and aura were completely different when they were in the Saint Mansion's secret realm. If he had not recognized Lu Ming's devouring power, he would not have recognized Lu Ming's identity. Therefore he knew that Lu Ming must be proficient in the art of disguise. Humph, do you think I wouldn't be able to find you if you disguised yourself in the crowd? I'll check you one by one. A terrifying aura rose from the Sky Martial Sword Sect's Supremes. His spiritual senses shrouded Lu Ming and the others who had entered the Saint Mansion's secret realm like a storm. Many people's expressions changed drastically. Lu Ming's expression also changed slightly before returning to normal. Check them one by one? How are you going to do that? Some Supremes from other forces said unhappily. Just soul search them one by one. The Sanguinarum Supremes sneered. Haha, soul search, who do you think you are? How can I let you soul search the disciples of Floating Mountain Sect? The Supremes from Floating Mountain Sect laughed coldly. That's right, who do you think you are? How can I let you soul search the disciples of Sky Eagle Castle? If you want to capture Lu Shaoqing, think of a way yourself. The Supremes from Sky Eagle Castle sneered. Some of the Supremes from the Overlord forces looked coldly at the Supremes from Cold Blood Hall and Sky Martial Sword Sect. They were all Overlord forces, so they were not afraid of them. The Celestial Martial Sword Sect and Cold Blood Hall had suffered heavy losses because of Lu Shaoqing. Wasn't it ridiculous that he wanted to search their disciples' souls? The faces of the Supremes from Cold Blood Hall and Sky Martial Sword Sect turned ugly. The disciples of the Overlord factions may leave, but the other factions and rogue cultivators must stay behind. We will search their souls. The Supreme Being of the Celestial Martial Sword Sect pondered for a moment before speaking up. What? You want to search our souls? No, don't be so overbearing. I will never agree. This is the World Academy, not the Sky Martial Sword Sect or Cold Blood Hall. Immediately, the people from the smaller factions started shouting. Everyone had their own secrets, so how could he allow others to search his soul? Shut up. The Supreme Being of the Sky Martial Sword Sect bellowed as a boundless sword might burst forth, causing many people to gasp for breath. Overlord forces were tyrannical and tyrannical. Other than forces of the same level, other forces were just ants in their eyes. That was the truth. Once the Emperor appeared, no one dared to challenge him. Whoosh whoosh. At this moment, the wind and clouds gathered high in the sky. Endless clouds gathered to form a huge face, and boundless Emperor's aura emanated from it. The Emperor has appeared. Someone shouted. Many people's faces changed drastically. Greetings, Your Majesty. Everyone in the World Academy, be it the ordinary disciples or the Supreme Beings, bowed respectfully. Because this was the Emperor of the World Academy. The people from the other factions also hurriedly bowed. This was their respect for the Emperor. Let them go. Since we are in the World Academy must ensure everyone's safety. The Emperor said indifferently, but his voice was firm. But, the Supreme Being of the Sky Martial Sword Sect wanted to say something. Say no more. Go. The Emperor interrupted him. The Supremes of the Sky Martial Sword Sect and Cold Blood Hall nodded. They had no choice but to obey the Emperor's words. Let's go. The Supreme Being of the Sky Martial Sword Sect glanced at the people from the smaller factions and the rogue cultivators, and then left with the people from the Sky Martial Sword Sect. The Supreme Being of Cold Blood Hall also left with the people from Cold Blood Hall. After that, the people from the other overlords also left. With a whoosh, the huge face in the sky disappeared without a trace. The Emperor's aura also disappeared without a trace, as if it had never appeared. However, the people from the smaller factions did not leave. They planned to leave through the teleportation formation of the World Academy. This was because the Sky Martial Sword Sect and Cold Blood Hall might intercept them outside the World Academy. It was too dangerous to go out like this. The teleportation formation was the safest way. The World Academy had no reason to refuse. This was because they had to pay a large sum of spiritual crystals and primordial stones to use the teleportation formation. Lu Ming was also among the crowd. He also planned to use the teleportation formation to leave the World Academy. In the sky, Kong Xian and Sandalwood Fairy were looking around. They were probably looking for Lu Ming. However, Lu Ming did not plan to show himself. He found a random mountain and sat down cross-legged to cultivate quietly. There were too many people now. There would definitely be a queue for the teleportation formation. It would be better to leave in a few days. After the three of them left, Lu Ming set off. After paying a sum of primordial stones, Lu Ming stepped into the teleportation formation. Saint City, I'm here. Xiaoqing, how are you now? Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat. His destination was the Saint City of the Central Continent. It was the imperial capital of the Central Continent ancient Saint Dynasty, the largest city in the world. The teleportation formation flashed and Lu Ming's figure disappeared. The Saint City of the Central Continent was the largest city in the Divine region. It was the imperial capital of the ancient Saint Dynasty. There were 8 citadels surrounding the Saint City. These 8 citadels all had teleportation formations. If an outsider wanted to enter the Saint City, they had to first teleport to the citadel and then fly to the Saint City. On this day, the teleportation formation of one of the citadels in the east flashed and Lu Ming's figure appeared. Lu Ming did not stop at the citadel. He left the citadel and soared into the sky, flying towards the Saint City. The citadel was 10 million miles away from the Saint City. However, Lu Ming's current speed was terrifying. Soon he crossed the 10 million miles and a huge city appeared in front of him. Ancient, vicissitudes of life, filled with the traces of time. This was Lu Ming's first impression of the Saint City. The huge city walls were filled with the marks of swords and sabers. It seemed to be describing the ancient history of the Saint City. The Central Continent's holy city was very large and majestic. However, it was definitely not the largest city in the Divine Wilderness continent, nor was it the top. At the very least, the 9 Dragons city of the Emperor Heaven Divine Palace was much larger than the Holy City. However, the Saint City was still the largest city in the world. The Holy City had existed for far too long. It had left behind countless legends and it also contained countless secrets. Moreover, there were many entrances to secret realms in the Saint City. In fact, those secret realms could be considered as a part of the Saint City. Together with those secret realms, the Saint City was terrifyingly huge. Chapter 1093. Lu Ming flew towards the holy city and landed on a pipe. He followed the crowd and walked through the city gate. There were soldiers guarding the city gate. Lu Ming looked around and realized that these soldiers were all experts in the spirit embryo realm. After a casual check, Lu Ming entered the holy city. Instantly, an ancient aura rushed towards him. In the holy city, every street, palace, and house was filled with the aura of time. It was as though they had traveled through time and space from millions of years ago. What rich spiritual energy of heaven and earth! It even contains origin chi. Also, the concept of heaven and earth is very clear. The entire holy city is like a huge array that continuously gathers the spiritual energy and origin chi of heaven and earth. Lu Ming sighed. If he cultivated here, his cultivation speed would definitely be very fast. The holy city was divided into the outer city, inner city, and the most important palace. Ordinary martial artists, small forces, and rogue cultivators all lived in the outer city. As for the inner city, it was the residences of the powerful forces in the holy city. For example, the residences of the ancient Saint Dynasty's princes, dukes, and ministers. Of course, the other overlords of the Central Continent had branches in the holy city that were guarded all year round. As for the palace, it was where the core members of the ancient Saint Dynasty's Xie family lived. Lu Ming strolled around casually. He was now in the outer city. He was thinking about how to sneak into the palace and find out about Xian Yanqing. After strolling for a while, Lu Ming walked towards a restaurant. Restaurants were the best places to gather information. After ordering a few dishes, Lu Ming sat down at a table. In another 2 months, the ancient Saint Dynasty's million-year state sacrifice will be here. The holy city will be bustling again. That's for sure. It's a million-year state sacrifice. How important is it? Not only will the overlords of the Central Continent gather in the holy city, but other forces will also send people over. Even the forces of the Western Desert, Northern Plains, Southern Underworld, and Eastern Wilderness will send people over. That's going to be bustling. It's a rare sight. When the time comes, all the geniuses will gather. It's a rare event. That's most likely the case. There are many experts in this generation. When the geniuses gather, there will be competition. Ah. Not long after Lu Ming sat down, he heard some important news. 1,000,000 years of national sacrifice? Lu Ming's eyes flickered. The ancient Saint Dynasty Xie family had been established for 1,000,000 years. It was truly astonishing. In the entire divine wilderness continent, which force could have such a long history? It was too shocking. Although the ancient Saint Dynasty had declined and the emperors had divided their territories, they still had to respect the ancient Saint Dynasty in name. They still had to listen to the ancient Saint Dynasty's orders. Of course, this was only in name. Therefore, the ancient Saint Dynasty's 1,000,000-year national ceremony was something all the major powers had to attend, even if it was just for show. At that time, the emperors of some overlord forces might come. I'm really looking forward to it. Yes, at that time there will definitely be many experts. I heard that the Imperial Palace has already issued an order to recruit more Imperial Dragon Guards to maintain order in the Holy City and protect the Imperial Palace. There's such a thing? When will the recruitment begin? I want to give it a try too. It has already started today and has been recruiting for the past half a month. You can go and give it a try. However, the recruitment requirements of the Emperor Dragon Guards are very high. Without the cultivation of Spirit Embryo Realm, it's impossible to enter. Lu Ming continued to listen. True enough, he heard a lot of news. Emperor Dragon Guards? Lu Ming's eyes lit up. The Emperor Dragon Guards were the Imperial Guards of the ancient Saint Dynasty. They were in charge of guarding the Imperial Palace and protecting the Emperor's relatives. Wasn't he trying to sneak into the Imperial Palace? Wouldn't it be fine if he joined the Emperor Dragon Guards? However, the Emperor Dragon Guards were in charge of guarding the Imperial Palace and protecting the Emperor's relatives. Therefore, he had to investigate his identity thoroughly before he could join. Otherwise, if anyone could join, wouldn't the safety of the Emperor's relatives be in danger? Lu Ming's gaze shifted. He picked up his wine cup and walked towards a table at the side. Hello, brothers. I heard you say that you want to join the Emperor Dragon Guards, right? Lu Ming raised his cup and smiled. There were two burly men sitting at the table. One of them looked like he was in his 40s while the other looked like he was in his 30s with a full beard. That's right. What can I do for you, little brother? The burly man with a full beard looked at Lu Ming and asked. Little brother comes from a small power and has just entered the sacred city. I want to find a job and join the Emperor Dragon Guards. I heard the two of you talking about this and thought that we might be able to work together in the future. Therefore, I wanted to make friends with you. Lu Ming smiled. Hearing Lu Ming's words, the two of them relaxed and revealed a smile. He wants to join, so I won't go. However, little brother, the requirement to join the Emperor Dragon Guards isn't low. You need to have the cultivation of Spirit Embryo Realm. The burly man in his 40s laughed. That's great. Little brother has just broken through to Spirit Embryo Realm, so I can give it a try. As he said that, Lu Ming's body gave off a faint aura. It was the aura of the first level of Spirit Embryo Realm. Not only could illusory breath change one's aura, it could also hide one's cultivation. Now, Lu Ming had hidden his cultivation to the first level of Spirit Embryo Realm. When they found out that Lu Ming was only at the first level of Spirit Embryo Realm, the two of them were even more relieved. The burly man with a full beard said, Little brother is so young, and to be able to reach the first level of Spirit Embryo Realm, you can be considered a prodigy. Respect. Big brothers are flattering me. Come, this meal is on me. Let's drink to our heart's content. Lu Ming said straightforwardly. Haha, how can we accept this? The burly man in his 40s laughed. This was the sacred city. Any random restaurant's food wasn't cheap. Since Lu Ming was treating, the two of them had a good impression of Lu Ming. The three of them chatted and drank. As Lu Ming had just arrived, there were many things he didn't know about the sacred city. He consulted the two of them and the two of them told him everything they knew. Lu Ming understood that the two of them came from a small power outside the sacred city called Black Spear Sect. They weren't far from the sacred city and often came to the sacred city to purchase items. The burly man in his 40s was called Ma Wu and the burly man in his 30s was called Ming Lu. Ming Lu, what a coincidence. If you read my name backwards, isn't that Ming Lu? Lu Ming's lips curled into a smile. The three of them chatted and drank. After 3 rounds of drinking, Ma Wu and Ming Lu were drinking to their heart's content. Junior brother Ming Lu, since you want to join the Imperial Dragon Guards, you can stay here and register with little brother Lu. I'll return to the sect first and tell them about you. If you work in the Imperial Dragon Guards, it will be much more convenient for our Black Spear sect to do things. Ma Wu said. Alright, senior brother Ma, you can return first. I'll go register tomorrow. Ming Lu nodded. Immediately after, Ma Wu bade farewell and left. Lu Ming and Ming Lu found an inn nearby to stay, planning to register tomorrow. Soon night fell. Lu Ming restrained his presence and entered Ming Lu's room silently. As soon as Ming Lu opened his mouth, Lu Ming struck out with his palm and knocked Ming Lu unconscious. He then put Ming Lu into the mountain river diagram and asked Dandan to engrave a formation, trapping him on the ground. I'm sorry, I'm borrowing your identity. There will be compensation in the future. Lu Ming mumbled. His muscles and bones began to squirm and transform into Ming Lu's appearance. Then his presence changed and became extremely similar to Ming Lu's. I'm still missing a beard. Lu Ming smiled and walked out of the inn. He bought a fake beard and stuck it on his face. Instantly he looked exactly like Ming Lu. Now, even if Ma Wu was beside him, he wouldn't be able to recognize that Lu Ming was an imposter. Lu Ming borrowed Ming Lu's identity to sneak into the Imperial Dragon Guards and wait for an opportunity to inquire about Xian Yinqing's whereabouts. Chapter 1094. The next morning, Lu Ming went to the registration area of the Emperor Dragon Guards. When he arrived, he got a shock. There was already a long queue at the registration area. To some people from small factions, the Emperor Dragon Guards was a good job. Joining the Emperor Dragon Guards was equivalent to joining the ancient Saint Dynasty, and they would be able to obtain more cultivation resources. Those below Spirit Embryo Realm, leave quickly. We don't need anyone below Spirit Embryo Realm. At the registration area, there were a few burly men wearing purple long robes embroidered with the picture of a flood dragon. They were the Emperor Dragon Guards. Their auras were very strong. Lu Ming swept his gaze across and realized that they were all at the 7th level of Spirit Embryo Realm and above. There was also an elder sitting at the side with his eyes closed. He was also wearing the uniform of the Emperor Dragon Guards, but his aura was unfathomable. However, it couldn't hide from Lu Ming's senses. Lu Ming realized that this person was at the 1st level of Spirit God Realm. Only those above Spirit Embryo Realm can join. The requirement is too high. Let's go. Some people sighed and walked away while shaking their heads. Take out your identification card and report your information. We will verify it. After that, there will be a test. Because there is a limit to the number of Imperial Dragon Guards this time, there are too many people who have signed up. We can't recruit all of them. Only the strong can stay. Okay, the registration starts now. The burly man said. Then they started to register one by one. Lu Ming waited patiently for 2 hours before it was his turn. Lu Ming moved his hand and an identity token appeared. He passed it to an Emperor Dragon Guard. This identity token was taken from Ming Lu. It was the identity token of a disciple of Black Spear Sect. Black Spear Sect Ming Lu. Lu Ming said. The burly man checked the identity token and registered it. We will send people to verify your identity. If there is any falsehood, we will kill you on the spot. Do you understand? The burly man said with a cold gaze. Yes, I understand. Lu Ming nodded his head repeatedly. And wait over there. There will be a test later. The burly man said. Lu Ming walked to the side and waited patiently. After another 2 hours, the registration ended. There were more than 2,000 people who had registered. All right, come with me. At this moment, the old man at the domain Enlightened Spirit God Realm stood up and spoke indifferently before he walked in with large strides. Lu Ming and the others followed behind him. Soon they arrived at a military camp. In the middle of the military camp, there was a huge stone tablet. This stone tablet can test your cultivation base. All you need to do is infuse your true chi into the stone tablet and we will know your cultivation base. There are 2,000 people who signed up this time, but we only need 200 people. Therefore we will only accept those whose cultivation base is in the top 200. Now the test begins, the old man announced. After that, the applicants went up to take the test one by one. As long as he poured his true chi into the stone steel would light up, and through the light he would be able to tell his cultivation. Starting the test one by one, Lu Ming discovered that most of them were at the 1st level of Spirit Embryo Realm. Those at the 2nd level of Spirit Embryo Realm were much lesser, and those at the 3rd level of Spirit Embryo Realm were even lesser. Soon it was Lu Ming's turn. Just in case, I'd better input a bit more Zhen Yuan. Lu Ming thought to himself. Only 200 people were accepted. To guarantee that nothing would go wrong, Lu Ming planned to input a bit more true chi. Walking to the stone tablet, Lu Ming pressed his hand on the stone tablet and poured his true chi into it. The stone tablet shook and 7 silver lights flashed out. Enough. Lu Ming withdrew his true qi. 7 silver lights represented the cultivation of the 7th level of spirit embryo realm. This way there should be nothing wrong and he would definitely be accepted. 7th level of spirit embryo realm. The eyes of the old man at the spirit god realm lit up. Those who came to sign up were usually people from small forces and their cultivation base wasn't too high. Those whose cultivation base was too high normally wouldn't join the Imperial Dragon Guards, so there weren't many who could reach the 7th level of spirit embryo realm. Yes, not bad. The old man at the spirit god realm nodded. The test continued. Not long after all the tests were completed, Lu Ming noticed that there were a total of 3 people who had reached the 7th level of spirit embryo realm, and only one person had reached the 8th level of spirit embryo realm. This made Lu Ming rub his nose. Was his performance too outstanding? Alright, the test is over. Those who are ranked in the top 200 can stay in the barracks for now. Wait for our news in a few days. The old man at the spirit god realm instructed. Those who weren't ranked in the top 200 could only sigh and leave. As for Lu Ming and the others, they were led to their rooms. For the next few days, Lu Ming stayed in the barracks and cultivated while waiting for news. 3 days later, the news came that Lu Ming had been accepted and officially became a member of the Imperial Dragon Guards. The 4 of you are very good. I've temporarily arranged the position of deputy flag bearer for you. If you perform well in the future, it won't be a problem for you to be promoted. Also, the positions that you need to guard have been arranged. Someone will inform you in a while. After the old man at the spirit god realm finished his announcement, he gave each of them a token that represented a deputy flag bearer. The flag in the Imperial Dragon Guards had the meaning of an official position. A flag had 500 people. The main flag could command 500 Imperial Dragon Guards, and the deputy flag bearers weren't small either. This was because their cultivations were profound. No matter where they were, strength represented everything. Not long after, someone delivered the robes that represented the Imperial Dragon Guards to Lu Ming and also delivered the news of the positions that they needed to guard. Naturally, the 4 deputy flags were separated from each other. The guards of the 8th prince. Lu Ming's gaze moved. His temporary duty was to be the 8th prince's guard. This made Lu Ming's eyes slightly strange. Because according to what he knew, wasn't the 8th prince Xie Zhen? Wasn't it Xie Zhen who had gone to 9 Dragon City and taken away Xian Yanqing? What a coincidence. I can inquire about Xiao Qing from Xie Zhen. The corner of Lu Ming's mouth rose into a smile. Of the 200 people that had joined together, there were still 30 people that were with Lu Ming. They were all the 8th prince's guards. Not long after, a skinny man in his 40s came and stood in front of Lu Ming and the others. I'm your general. My name is Shi Fang. In the future you will follow me. Now, follow me to the 8th prince's mansion. The skinny man's gaze swept over them, especially stopping on Lu Ming's body. A cold light flashed in his eyes. This Shi Fang seems to be hostile to me, but this is the first time I've seen him. Strange. Lu Ming slightly frowned as he thought to himself. The 8th prince's mansion was very spacious in the inner city. It was like a villa with a radius of 100 miles. The Imperial Dragon Guards couldn't directly enter the 8th prince's mansion. They had to live in a military camp outside the mansion. In the military camp outside the 8th prince's mansion, Lu Ming and the others gathered. Shi Fang stood on a high platform, looking down at them with a cold expression. I'll tell you some things now. The first thing to do in the Imperial Dragon Guards is to obey orders and protect the safety of the Imperial family with your life. Also, I'll tell you that there are many experts in the Imperial Dragon Guards. Some of you shouldn't be complacent just because you have some strength. There are many experts in the Imperial Dragon Guards who are stronger than you. Any one of them can suppress you. Do you understand? Chapter 1095. Lu Ming frowned. He always felt that Shi Fang's words were targeted at him. However, he had never seen Shi Fang before, so why was Shi Fang always targeting him? Could it be that this Ming Lu had offended Shi Fang in the past? Lu Ming thought to himself. After Shi Fang finished speaking, he turned around and left. After that, someone arranged a place for them to stay. Lu Ming was the vice banner and had a small courtyard. There was also another person who stayed in Lu Ming's courtyard to help Lu Ming out. This person was also a newly joined Imperial Dragon Guard and looked to be around 50 years old. He looked rather shrewd and was called Sun Lin. Lord Vice Banner, you have to be careful. Arriving at the courtyard, Sun Lin reminded him. Oh, what do you mean? Lu Ming asked. Lord Vice Banner should be able to feel that when Commander Shi spoke, A lot of his words were actually for you. Sun Lin said. Oh, could it be that you know why? Lu Ming asked. He was also very curious. Lord Vice Banner has just arrived, so you probably don't know the rules of the Imperial Dragon Guard. In the Imperial Dragon Guard, everything is based on strength. Those who are strong can continue to rise as long as they make contributions. Lord Vice Banner, your cultivation is at the 7th level of Spirit Embryo Realm, while Commander Shifang's cultivation is only at the 6th level of Spirit Embryo Realm. Your cultivation is higher than his. Hearing until here, Lu Ming's eyes lit up. What you mean is that Shifang is worried that I will threaten his position. Lord Vice Banner is wise. The reason why Shifang can have the position of commander is because he has an elder brother who is the personal guard of His Highness the 8th Prince. That's why he can become the position of commander, commanding 500 Imperial Dragon Guards. Furthermore, the highest level of people in this banner was only at the 6th level of Spirit Embryo Realm. Therefore, Shifang has a very stable position as the commander. However, Lord Vice Banner's cultivation is higher than his, so as long as Lord Vice Banner makes some contributions, surpassing Shifang or even replacing him would be very normal. Therefore, Shifang naturally wouldn't be nice to Lord Vice Banner and might even do something secretly. Sun Lin explained. Lu Ming smiled. So that's how it was. However, he didn't take it to heart. He could suppress a mere Shifang with a single finger, so there was no need to take it to heart. After chatting for a while, Lu Ming walked into the room and sat down cross-legged, beginning to comprehend the concept of heaven and earth. Previously, in the Saint Mansion Secret Realm, Lu Ming had devoured many intent realm runes. Not only had he made a breakthrough in his cultivation, but his intent of heaven and earth had also improved. His thunder concept and wind concept had both broken through to the lower level of the 4th level. Including his fire concept, he now had 3 other concepts that had reached the lower level of the 4th level. Now he was fully focused on comprehending the earth concept and water concept. Nothing much happened in the first 2 days. The Imperial Dragon Guards were usually very idle when they had nothing to do. After all, they were all warriors. They didn't need to patrol like ordinary people. When they had nothing to do, they just needed to cultivate in peace. They would only be mobilized when something happened. On the evening of the 3rd day, Lu Ming heard some movement outside. He ended his cultivation, opened the door and walked out. There were 2 people in the courtyard. One was Sun Lin, and the other was a middle-aged man who looked like a skinny monkey. At this moment, Sun Lin took out a storage ring with an ugly expression and handed it to the skinny middle-aged man. The skinny middle-aged man took the storage ring. When he saw Lu Ming, he chuckled and walked over. You're Ming Lu? That's right. Lu Ming said. I was just about to look for you. Since you've joined the Imperial Dragon Guards, Commander Shifang will take care of you in the future and let you maximize your benefits and live a good life. However, Commander Shifang can't do it for free. You have to show some appreciation. Do you understand? The skinny middle-aged man stretched out his hand and pinched his fingers. Lu Ming's lips curled up. He understood that the skinny middle-aged man was sent by Shifang to collect benefits. Needless to say, every new person who joined would be patronized. How greedy. Tell me, how much do you want? Lu Ming said. You're the deputy commander. The higher your position, the more you have to pay. For the others, 50,000 origin stones, you can give me 200,000 origin stones. The skinny middle-aged man chuckled. 50,000? 200,000? The smile on the corner of Lu Ming's lips became even wider. How ruthless. For a normal person, 50,000 origin stones was definitely a huge burden for a normal Spirit Embryo Realm martial arts practitioner. Yet for him, the skinny middle-aged man wanted 200,000. This was 200,000 origin stones, and it wasn't a small sum. Even a normal Spirit Embryo Realm martial artist would find it hard to take it out. It was completely an exorbitant demand. It's a pity that I don't have so many origin stones. Please return. Lu Ming said indifferently. You don't have it? Don't try to trick me. You're a martial arts practitioner at the 7th level of Spirit Embryo Realm. How can you not have 200,000 origin stones with all your assets? The skinny middle-aged man sneered. Even if I have 200,000 origin stones with all my assets, what will I use to cultivate if I give it all to you? Lu Ming said. I don't care about this. This is your problem. If you can't take it out, it's best you get out of the Imperial Dragon Guards. Otherwise, without the protection of Commander, you won't even know how you died. The skinny middle-aged man's face darkened as he threatened. Ah. Lu Ming was so angry that he laughed. If I need Shifang's protection, How can a martial artist at the 6th level of spirit embryo realm protect me? What a joke. Alright, get out of here immediately. Otherwise I'll throw you out. Audacious. How dare you mock Commander, you're simply audacious. You're courting death. The skinny middle-aged man shouted. Scram. Lu Ming suddenly shouted angrily and took a step forward. A terrifying aura burst forth and pressed down on the skinny middle-aged man. The skinny middle-aged man trembled as if he was struck by lightning. He retreated a few steps back and spat out a mouthful of blood. You with the surname Ming, just you wait. You're dead meat. The skinny middle-aged man staggered out with a face full of resentment. In a blink of an eye, he had disappeared. Commander, if you offend him like this, I'm afraid Shifang will be here soon. Sigh. Sun Lin sighed and was slightly worried. He's just a clown, what's there to be afraid of? Lu Ming said casually. Shifang is nothing. But his older brother is the personal guard of the 8th prince, an expert at the 1st level of the spirit god realm. Sun Lin spoke while a trace of terror appeared in his eyes. If a spirit god realm expert wanted to slap them to death, then it would be no different than slapping an ant to death. Lu Ming spoke indifferently with a calm expression, and then he casually sat down on a stone bench in the courtyard as if nothing had happened. Sun Lin was filled with worry at the side. After a short while, bang. The door to the courtyard was blasted open, and then Shifang walked in with a few of his trusted aides with a gloomy expression. Ming Lu, you injured another Imperial Dragon Guard for no reason or rhyme. I suspect that you have ulterior motives. Kneel down obediently and receive your punishment. Shifang shouted loudly and directly pushed the crime onto Lu Ming. Lu Ming glanced indifferently at Shifang and said, What an idiot. I'll give you 3 breaths of time to fuck off right now. How audacious. You dared to go against your superior. Your crime is even worse. Your cultivation should be crippled and you're expelled from the Imperial Dragon Guard. Shifang shouted loudly. Ah, Shifang, feel free to give it a try. Chapter 1096. Humph, you still dare to resist? Shifang said solemnly. He didn't believe that Lu Ming would dare to resist. He, Shifang's elder brother, was a strong practitioner at the 1st level of spirit god and the personal bodyguard of the 8th prince. If Lu Ming dared to make a move on him, he would be courting death. Furthermore, he had learned a rather powerful martial technique from his elder brother and his innate talent was not bad. Even if Lu Ming's cultivation was 1 level higher than his, he wouldn't be afraid if they really fought. Lu Ming didn't answer Shifang and instead stood up and walked toward Shifang. 3 breaths have passed. Looks like I can only personally throw you out. Audacious, you really dare to make a move on me. Everyone, let's attack together and suppress this person. Shifang shouted angrily and the aura on his body burst forth as he charged towards Lu Ming. Besides Shifang, the other 3 people also made their move. Their aura burst forth and they were actually all at the 6th level of spirit embryo realm. These people were the strongest in this banner. Usually they would follow Shifang's lead. The 4 of them working together wasn't weak, but in Lu Ming's eyes, it was no different from children playing house. Bang, bang. Lu Ming kicked out. The instant this kick was kicked out, it turned into 4 shadows of legs. Bang, 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 bang. All the attacks of Shifang and the other 3 turned into bubbles and shadows under Lu Ming's legs. The soles of Lu Ming's feet directly imprinted on their faces. 4 miserable shrieks rang out as Shifang and the other 3 flew out of the courtyard like 4 cannonballs. Their miserable shrieks rang out in the night sky and became further and further away. No one knew how far they had flown. On the field, there was still that skinny monkey-like middle-aged man who hadn't left. At this moment, his eyeballs were almost popping out and his body was trembling non-stop. His face was pale from fright. He didn't think that Lu Ming would be so daring to even hit Shifang. Most importantly, he did not expect that not only did Lu Ming dare to fight, but his combat strength was also so strong that he sent Shifang and the others flying with a single kick. Even though Lu Ming's cultivation was 1 level higher than Shifang and the other 3, Shifang had 4 people and yet they didn't even have the slightest bit of resistance. It could be seen that Lu Ming's battle power was much stronger than normal 7th level spirit embryo realm practitioners. At this moment he looked at Lu Ming in horror. Scram. Lu Ming berated. Yes, I'll leave right now. The middle-aged man turned around and was about to leave. I told you to scram, not leave. Lu Ming said coldly. The skinny middle-aged man's face was pale. Looks like I have to do it myself. Lu Ming's gaze turned cold. No. The skinny middle-aged man was so scared that he almost peed his pants. He could only lie on the ground in humiliation and roll out of the courtyard. Then he got up and ran away. This Deputy Flag Lord, I'm afraid that Shi Fang will not let this matter rest after offending him like this. Sun Lin was full of worry. He wasn't worried for Lu Ming. He was afraid that he would be implicated by Lu Ming. What are you afraid of? Lu Ming said casually and returned to his room to cultivate. With a wave of his hand, numerous bottles, jars, jade boxes, and metal chests appeared in the room. There were over 100 of them, and they were all obtained from the Sacred Manor in the Sacred Manor's secret realm. Lu Ming didn't check them previously, and now was the perfect time to check them out. These are spirit refinement pills. Lu Ming looked at those jade bottles and was elated. Those jade bottles were actually spirit refinement pills. Spirit refinement pills were refined using the spirit refinement fruit as the main ingredient. If one spirit embryo was perfected and consumed it frequently, it could greatly increase the chances of breaking through to Spirit God. If Spirit God strong practitioners consumed it, they could condense their Spirit God and strengthen their spiritual consciousness. There were over a dozen jade bottles here, and they were all filled with spirit refinement pills. Every jade bottle had 9 pills. There were at least a few hundred spirit refinement pills here. He had struck it rich. Following that, Lu Ming looked at other things. Many of the other things were pills, and they were all very precious pills. Most of them weren't inferior to spirit refinement pills. There were also all kinds of materials that were very precious. Lu Ming couldn't name many of them. Lu Ming kept them one by one. Finally, with a thought, a small fiery red pagoda appeared. Emperor-level spirit weapon. Once the small fiery red pagoda appeared, it trembled slightly as though it was about to leave. However, Lu Ming's vital essence spread out and enveloped the small pagoda. Emperor-level spirit weapon, if I refine it, it will definitely increase my strength. However, it won't be that easy to refine it. Furthermore, with my current cultivation, even if I refine it, I won't be able to unleash much of its power. It's better to refine it properly another day when I'm free. Thinking until here, Lu Ming put away the small pagoda again. He then took out spirit refinement pills and refined them to condense his spirit god. Time slowly passed. Tonight, there was no movement. On the second day, there was also no movement. On the second night, Lu Ming made his move. He asked Dandan to inscribe a formation to restrain his aura. His body was like a ghost as he tore through the void and headed towards the 8th Prince Xiejin's mansion. Lu Ming planned to enter Xiejin's mansion to see if he could find out some information about Xian Yanqing. Of course, the 8th Prince's mansion was guarded by the Imperial Dragon Guards. However, given Lu Ming's current cultivation level and the array formation that Dandan had set up to conceal his aura, the Imperial Dragon Guards could not discover him at all. The 8th Prince's mansion was very big. There were many palaces and pavilions. The area was very wide. Lu Ming spread out his spiritual sense and looked around. After a while, Lu Ming's eyes lit up. His figure moved and appeared above a palace. As his spiritual sense swept out, the situation below the palace was directly imprinted in his mind. It was clearer than seeing with his eyes. This was the wonder of spiritual sense. In a room below the palace, 2 figures were discussing something. One of them was Shi Fang, and the other person was over 50 years old. He had a robust figure and a rather dignified appearance. Big brother, you must take revenge for me. That new vice flag master was actually so arrogant and even dared to hit me. He clearly didn't give big brother any face. Shi Fang complained tearfully. This robust man over 50 years old was the 8th Prince's personal guard, an expert at the first level of the domain Enlightened Spirit God realm. However, Lu Ming's current cultivation had attained the 2nd level of the domain Enlightened Spirit God realm. How formidable was the domain Enlightened Spirit God realm that he cultivated? His spiritual sense was formidable, so how could it be noticed by his opponent? Alright, I understand. This Ming Lu is truly audacious. However, I'm at the domain Enlightened Spirit God realm and the 8th Prince's personal guard. If I were to make a move against him directly, then I would probably be criticized by others. How about this? I have a method to eliminate him. When he spoke up to hear, Shi Fang's older brother started to send a voice transmission, and Lu Ming was unable to hear the rest of it. Let me see how all of you eliminate me. Lu Ming sneered, and then his figure flashed and left this place to look for the 8th Prince's residence. It wasn't long before Lu Ming finally found the 8th Prince in the depths of the estate. The 8th Prince really is Xiejin. After not seeing him for a few years, Xiejin has matured slightly, and his cultivation has become much stronger as well. At this moment, Xiejin was sitting high up in a great hall. Below him, a few people were kneeling there reporting to him about some matters. Bang! Xie Jin suddenly slapped the table heavily and shouted coldly. What? They failed again? What a bunch of trash. 8th Prince, even though 16th Princess is in the 9th hell, her natural talent is truly too formidable, and the advancement of her cultivation is too terrifying. All the people we sent were killed by her. Chapter 1097. 16th Princess? Is it Xiaoqing? Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat, and his eyes were suddenly filled with cold killing intent. Listening to the conversation just now, Xian Yanqing was in the 9 Nether Devil domain, and Xie Jin had sent people to kill him. Damn it. At this moment, Lu Ming's killing intent was extremely strong. But in his heart he felt relieved. At least Xian Yanqing was fine and alive. I really don't know what father is thinking. She's a different species, a bitch born from a lowly servant. Father actually didn't kill her directly or suppress her in the 9 Underworld Demon domain, but only imprisoned her in the 9 Underworld Demon domain and let her fight with the demons. She's really let off easy. Xie Jin's face was gloomy and his voice was cold. 8th Prince, what should we do next? One of them asked. That bitch hates me to the bone. If I let her live, I will never be able to rest easy. Xie Jin said coldly. 8th Prince, in my opinion, you don't have to worry too much. His Majesty didn't kill her most likely because of their father-daughter relationship. But 16th Princess is a different species, and she is a taboo of our Saint Emperor clan. Even if His Majesty doesn't kill her, he won't let her out of the 9 Underworld Demon domain. She will most likely spend her life in the 9 Underworld Demon domain. Someone below said. Even so, that bitch's talent is too high. As long as she's alive, I won't be able to rest easy. Xie Jin said with a gloomy face. 8th Prince, should we continue to send people? Let's talk about it later. In less than 2 months, it will be the 1,000,000-year national sacrificial ceremony. During this period, Father will not continue to cultivate in seclusion. He is very concerned about the big and small matters. It's not a good time to take action. After the ceremony, we will send experts into the 9 Underworld Demon domain and kill her in one fell swoop. Xie Jin's eyes were gloomy. Lu Ming clenched his fists tightly, and he almost lost control of his killing intent. Who is it? But only a little bit was leaked and it was sensed by an expert. Whoosh. Lu Ming's figure flickered and he left the place. In the blink of an eye, he appeared 100 miles away and returned to the dormitory. He really wanted to slap Xie Jin to death, but he knew that now was not the right time. He still had to find a way to find the entrance to the 9 underworlds and save Xian Yanqing. If he killed Xie Jin now, he would definitely alert the enemy. Right now he could only let Xie Jin live for a while longer. However, Lu Ming swore that he would kill Xie Jin sooner or later. In the following days, Lu Ming would take some time to wander around the 9 underworlds, trying his best to gather information about the 9 underworlds. Unfortunately, he got nothing. It seemed that very few people knew about the 9 underworlds. Lu Ming speculated that the demon realm of the 9 serenities was probably a realm, and the entrance to it was probably somewhere in the imperial palace. As for Lu Ming, other than going out to inquire about things, he would refine the spirit refining pills and comprehend concepts. The soul refining pill couldn't directly improve Lu Ming's cultivation, but it could make his spiritual spirit more and more condensed, and his spiritual sense more and more powerful. The more powerful his spiritual spirit was, the more helpful it would be for his future cultivation. 3 days later, while Lu Ming was cultivating, Shifang came again. Lu Ming walked out of his room, looked at Shifang indifferently and said, "What's wrong? You want to get beaten again?" Shifang's face turned ugly. He coldly snorted and said, "I'm here to inform you that there's a mission. The 8th Prince wants to go hunting in the Bestial Mountain. We need to go together. Let's go." Lu Ming smiled and walked out in big strides. Shifang looked at Lu Ming's back, and the corner of his mouth revealed a trace of a cold smile. The Imperial Dragon Guards gathered and followed Xie Jin to the Bestial Mountain. The Bestial Mountain was a boundless mountain range, where countless fierce beasts lived. It was a hunting ground for the Xie family's disciples to train their cultivation. The Xie family's disciples would often come to the Bestial Mountain to hunt. In fact, they would enter the Bestial Mountain and fight with fierce beasts. Outside the Bestial Mountain, there was a huge military camp with living quarters and guards. "Shifang, you will lead the Imperial Dragon Guards and follow me into the mountain, but you don't need to protect me. You guys will hunt separately and see who can kill more fierce beasts. What do you think?" Looking at the Bestial Mountain, Xie Jin was in high spirits. "8th Prince, how can we be compared to you? Fang revealed a flattering smile. Don't worry, there are also experts in the Imperial Dragon Guards. Try your best to compete with the half-prince. Those who perform well will be rewarded. Xie smiled. Okay, I'll bring them along. Fang bowed again and again. Then let's go. Xie waved his hand and flew towards the bestial mountain. Fang and the others also flew towards the bestial mountain. Could it be that they want to kill me in the bestial mountain? Lu Ming thought in his heart. He guessed that Fang's elder brother might attack him in the bestial mountain. Lu Ming's mouth curved into a cold smile. If the other party wanted to die, he wouldn't mind sending him on his way. After flying into the bestial mountain, the group dispersed. Lu Ming was bored as he flew towards the depths of the bestial mountain. The level of the beasts in the periphery of Beast Cry Mountain was very low. There were some king-level and spirit sea-level beasts. As long as Lu Ming glared at them, these beasts would disappear without a trace. After flying for half an hour, no one made a move. Still not making a move? Lu Ming muttered. He sat cross-legged on a huge rock and waited. Even after 2 hours, no one made a move against him. Seems like I guessed wrong. They won't make a move here. Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat. He was a little surprised. Forget it, I guess Xie hunt is about to end. I'll just kill a few beasts to deal with it. Lu Ming's figure flashed and soared into the sky. Ka. After a while, cries could be heard as a flock of silver eagles flew past. The moment they saw Lu Ming, over 10 of them charged towards Lu Ming. It's you guys. Lu Ming flicked his finger and long spears condensed out, shooting towards the silver eagles. Puff puff, 5 of the silver eagles were pierced by the spear light. The remaining eagles were frightened as they cried out and fled. Lu Ming didn't give chase. He swept the 5 eagles up with his true essence and flew back to the army camp. These 5 eagles were equivalent to the 8th level of Spirit Embryo Realm, which was more or less enough. In the army camp, Xie and the rest had already returned. On the ground of the army camp, there were beasts of all shapes and sizes. 8th Prince is truly powerful, to actually be able to hunt down 3 fierce beasts at the 8th level of Spirit Embryo Realm and 3 fierce beasts at the 7th level of Spirit Embryo Realm in just a few hours. 8th Prince is indeed a genius, this little one is impressed. Fang stood in front of Xie and started to flatter him. This is nothing. As long as you guys cultivate properly, you can do it too. Xie said modestly. However, the complacency on his face couldn't be concealed. His cultivation was at the 6th level of Spirit Embryo Realm. To be able to hunt down 3 fierce beasts at the 8th level of Spirit Embryo Realm and 3 at the 7th level of Spirit Embryo Realm in less than 3 hours in the vast Beast Cry Mountain was already considered a pretty good achievement. Chapter 1098. With a casual throw, he threw the 5 huge eagles onto the ground, causing the ground to tremble slightly. These are silver eagles, all 5 of them are silver eagles, so powerful. Furthermore, all 5 of them are silver eagles at the 8th level of Spirit Embryo Realm. Deputy Flag Ming's abilities are actually so strong, to be able to hunt 5 silver eagles at the 8th level of Spirit Embryo Realm in less than 3 hours, truly astonishing. The moment Lu Ming returned, it caused a wave of exclamations as the Emperor Dragon Guards started discussing spiritedly. Even though Lu Ming had only hunted 5 demonic beasts, they were all at the 8th level of Spirit Embryo Realm. In terms of value, he had already surpassed Xie. This caused Xie's face to turn slightly gloomy. Besides Xie, Fang's big brother gave a cold smile. Deputy Flag Fang, who is this? Xie asked. 8th Prince, this is the new Deputy Flag. His name is Ming Lu and his cultivation is at the 7th level of Spirit Embryo Realm. Fang replied. Oh, so it's the new Deputy Flag. Xie glanced at Lu Ming. When he saw that Lu Ming merely cupped his fists at him casually without any hint of respect, he felt even more displeased. Xie walked towards Lu Ming in large strides and said, Deputy Flag Ming's battle power is astonishing, this prince admires you. Deputy Flag Ming, this prince is itching for a fight, how about you spar with this prince? Spar. The corner of Lu Ming's mouth raised slightly. That's right, spar with me. Use your full strength and don't hold back. Don't worry, you won't be able to hurt this prince. Bang. As Xie spoke, he slowly walked forward and his body gave off an intense golden glow as his aura flourished. He had awakened the bloodline of the 5th level of God grade and his battle power was very strong. Normal martial artists at the 7th level of Spirit Embryo Realm weren't his match, therefore he was filled with confidence. At the side, the others scattered far away. Fang and his big brother looked at each other in the eyes and sneered. Make your move. Boom. Xie Jin threw a punch towards Lu Ming. The golden fist aura whistled through heaven and earth as it attacked Lu Ming. A long spear condensed in Lu Ming's hand. Ming Lu came from Black Spear sect and used a long spear. Whoosh. The long spear trembled, the tip of the spear trembled, stirring up the wind and clouds as it pierced towards Xie Jin's fist. Bang. Xie Jin's fist light was penetrated by the long spear and collapsed. Xie Jin's gaze sharpened as a trace of killing intent flashed across his eyes. Boom. Boom. Following that, the golden light on Xie Jin's body grew even brighter as he punched out unceasingly. Boundless golden light surged and enveloped Lu Ming. Lu Ming's long spear trembled and spear flowers bloomed in the air. Bang. Bang. Intense collisions rang out, and the fist radiance and spear radiance disappeared without a trace. Back then in Nine Dragon City, Xie Jin's cultivation was at the peak of the 7th level of the Spirit Sea realm. Now that 3 years had passed and Xie Jin was in the ancient Saint dynasty, he definitely had plenty of resources. His cultivation had risen to the 6th level of the Spirit Embryo realm and his battle prowess was indeed not bad. Ordinary martial artists at the 8th level of the Spirit Embryo realm weren't his match and would be killed by him. However, he was facing Lu Ming, and Lu Ming was already doing his best to suppress his own power. After dozens of moves he still couldn't take down Lu Ming. Xie Jin's eyes flashed with killing intent. Above his head, a tall burly man in golden armor appeared. He was 100 meters tall and held a long spear in his hand. 5 golden chakras shone brightly, making him look like a god. Xie Jin turned into a ray of light and entered the body of the burly man in golden armor. Kill! The burly man in golden armor shouted as the golden long spear in his hand emitted a dazzling radiance and pierced towards Lu Ming. The huge long spear brought along a terrifying whistling sound, and its power was extremely shocking. What a strong killing intent. He wants to kill me. Lu Ming's eyes flashed with a trace of cold light. If it wasn't for the fact that he was worried about alerting the enemy, Lu Ming would have killed Xie Jin right away. Boom. Lu Ming took a step forward and soared into the sky. The spear radiance condensed in his hand grew rapidly, becoming 100 meters long and 10 meters wide. He swept the spear towards the burly man in golden armor. Boom. The 2 long spears collided and the entire barracks shook. The burly man in golden armor's body shook violently as he was blasted back repeatedly by Lu Ming's spear. Swoosh. Lu Ming charged over directly, and the huge long spear smashed down fiercely with the force of splitting a mountain. Boom. The long spear smashed heavily onto the burly man in golden armor, causing his body to shake violently and almost fall to the ground. After that, Lu Ming's spear changed into a horizontal sweep, and it smashed heavily onto the burly man in golden armor. The burly man in golden armor let out a shrill cry as his body directly collapsed and transformed back into Xie Jin's appearance. He spat out a mouthful of blood as he retreated. How audacious! You dare injure the 8th prince? You're courting death. Bang. Shi Fang's older brother, Shi Jing, took a step forward and appeared before Lu Ming. His aura at the 1st level of the domain enlightened spirit god realm erupted with a bang, and a terrifying pressure suffused the sky above the barracks. The expressions of many people changed drastically because the pressure of the domain enlightened spirit god realm was truly too strong, causing many people to tremble and break out in cold sweat. However, Lu Ming was like a cool breeze and didn't feel anything at all. He glanced casually at Shi Jing and said, "The 8th prince asked me to use my full strength just now, and I was merely obeying the 8th prince's orders. You still dare to quibble? The 8th prince's body is extremely precious, and he's extremely respected. You actually dared to injure him. You've offended your superior and have no sense of seniority. You simply deserve death for your crimes. I'll cripple you right now and lock you in prison to properly reflect on your actions." Shi Jing's gaze was gloomy while a trace of a complacent cold smile hung on the corners of his mouth. The nearby Shi Fang was even more complacent, and he glared fiercely at Lu Ming. On the other hand, Xie Jin's expression was gloomy and unsightly, yet he didn't stop Shi Jing. Just as Shi Jing had said, Lu Ming had actually dared to injure him, and he simply deserved death for his crimes. Ah, truly laughable. The 8th prince personally gave the order for me to attack with my full strength, and I was merely obeying the order and exerting my full strength, causing me to accidentally injure the 8th prince. Yet you made a move against me because of this. Do you think the 8th prince's orders are nonsense? Would anyone listen to him in the future? Lu Ming roared with laughter and wasn't afraid in the slightest. He finally understood now that all of this was a trap set up by Shi Jing. Shi Jing understood Xie Jin very well and knew that Xie Jin was narrow-minded. If Lu Ming were to compete with Xie Jin and win or even injure Xie Jin, then only death would await Lu Ming. That was why today's matter happened. Even if Lu Ming's kills didn't surpass Xie Jin's, Shi Jing would still find a way to let the 8th prince and Lu Ming exchange pointers. But today, everything went smoother than Shi Jing had imagined. Lu Ming's kills actually surpassed Xie Jin's, which made Xie Jin unhappy with Lu Ming. He directly challenged Lu Ming to a battle, and there was no better result than this. Before the battle began, Xie Jin already had the intention to kill Lu Ming. If Lu Ming's battle strength wasn't enough and he wasn't Xie Jin's opponent, then Xie Jin would most likely kill him on the spot. But if Lu Ming's cultivation was stronger than Xie Jin's, then Xie Jin's killing intent would definitely be heavier, and Lu Ming would also be on the road to death. Therefore, whether Lu Ming won or lost, his death was certain. Bold, presumptuous, who do you think you are? You are insulting the 8th prince and you deserve 9 exterminations. Shi Fang shouted from the side. And the killing intent in Xie Jin's eyes was even thicker. A lowly ant actually dared to insult him, he deserved to die 10,000 times. Boom. Chapter 1099. Looks like I can't use this identity. Lu Ming's eyes turned cold. He planned to kill Shi Jing, Shi Fang and Xie Jin together. Right at that moment, "Ha 8th brother, what's the matter? Why is it so lively?" A loud laugh sounded. Then a roar came from the sky. It seemed like a huge army was running towards them. There were about a few hundred cavalrymen, and each of them was riding a fiery red warhorse. These warhorses were covered in fiery red scales, and there were 2 dragon horns on their heads. Flames danced all over their bodies, and they looked extraordinarily mighty. It was a dragon horse. Legend had it that it had the bloodline of a true dragon. The powerful dragon horse was not weaker than a W-arm. The few hundred cavalrymen were all riding on dragon horses. The leader was a young man. He was tall and slender. He wore fiery red armor and fiery boots. His hair was loose and his eyes were like lightning. His aura was powerful. 10th prince. Many people exclaimed. Rumble. The dragon horse stepped into the air and appeared in the sky above the camp. Greetings, 10th prince. Shi Jing, Shi Fang, and the others hurriedly knelt in front of the 10th prince. Their eyes were filled with reverence. 10th brother, why are you here? Xie Jin's face was a little ugly. There was a trace of jealousy and reverence in the depths of his eyes as he looked at the young man in front of him. The 10th prince, Xie Yan, was a peerless genius. He was one of the best amongst all the children of the current sacred emperor, and he was a second-rate genius whose name shook the central continent. His cultivation was formidable, and he'd even stepped foot into the domain spirit god realm now. His status in the ancient Saint dynasty wasn't something that Xie Jin could compare to at all. In the imperial family, Xie Yan was second only to Xian Yinjuan. 8th brother, you can hunt, but I can't? What are you doing? It seems like you want to attack one of your subordinates. What's going on? Tell me. The 10th prince, Xie Yan, pointed at one of the imperial dragon guards and ordered. His tone was arrogant and indisputable. The imperial dragon guard did not dare to be negligent, nor did he dare to hide anything. He recounted everything that had happened. Ah, so that's how it is. 8th brother, you are getting worse and worse. You can't even defeat a deputy flag of the 7th level of spirit embryo realm. But it's fine if you can't defeat him, but you said you would kill him after you lost. If this matter were to spread out, wouldn't our Saint Emperor clan become a joke? Xie Yan said indifferently. Ah, 10th brother, you've misunderstood. I didn't mean to kill him. Just now, bodyguard Shi Jing saw that I was injured and was worried. That's why he stood in front of me. Everything is a misunderstanding. Xie Jin's expression fluctuated for a while before he revealed an ugly smile. Really? So it was all a misunderstanding. However, this vice flag commander's combat strength is not bad. He is only 1 level higher than 8th brother, but he can easily crush 8th brother. He is a talent. Xie Yan smiled. Xie Jin clenched his fists so tightly that his knuckles cracked. He was simply furious. Taking a deep breath, he calmed himself down and revealed a smile. That's right. This vice flag commander Ming Lu's combat strength is indeed not bad. Therefore, I plan to transfer him to the law enforcement army. Coincidentally, the million-year national sacrifice is about to begin. When that time comes, the sacred city will definitely be in chaos. The law enforcement army is in need of manpower. When he said that, Shifeng and Shizheng's eyes lit up and revealed a cold smile. As for the others, they looked at Lu Ming with pity. Lu Ming's heart moved. What was the meaning of these gazes? Ah, he is eighth brother's man. You can arrange him however you want. Let's go. Xie Yin smiled and led the 400 cavalrymen towards Beast Cry Mountain. After Xie Yin left, Xie Jin's expression turned gloomy. He swept a cold glance at Lu Ming and said, Vice Flag Commander Ming, go back and wait. The order will be given soon. You shall go to the law enforcement army and be a commander. With your combat strength, it's about time. When Xie Jin said that, the expressions of the others became even weirder. They looked at Lu Ming with even more pity. And you will be transferred to the law enforcement army with him. Then Xie Jin pointed at Sun Lin. Blah. Sun Lin's expression changed drastically. Then he knelt down with a thud and kowtowed as he screamed, No, 8th Prince, I beg you. No, don't transfer me to the law enforcement army. I only live with him. I don't know him. You want to disobey this prince's order? Xie Jin's eyes turned cold. Sun Lin's face turned pale and he stood there in a daze. Let's go. Xie Jin soared into the air and returned to his residence. The others quickly followed. Sai Ming Lu, I'm going to die because of you. Sun Lin let out a long sigh with a bitter expression. What's going on? Why don't you want to join the law enforcement army? The law enforcement army, from the name, it should have a lot of power. Lu Ming asked curiously. Many sects had their own law enforcement hall. The law enforcement hall had a lot of power. They enforced the law on behalf of the sect and were respected by everyone. Why did Sun Lin seem to be afraid of joining the law enforcement army? When the others heard that Xie Jin wanted to transfer Lu Ming to the law enforcement army, they all looked at him with pity. Sai, you might not know this, but the law enforcement army does have a lot of power. However, that power is useless now. Sun Lin sighed and continued to explain, the law enforcement army is the law enforcement organization of the ancient Saint dynasty. They are responsible for enforcing the law in the holy city and maintaining the security of the holy city. No matter who you are, no matter which force you are from, the law enforcement army will be dispatched to enforce the law if you commit a crime in the holy city. Lu Ming nodded his head. Isn't that a lot of power? If it was 30,000 years ago when the ancient Saint dynasty ruled the world, everyone would be afraid of the law enforcement army. They had great power and anyone who committed a crime would be suppressed or even killed on the spot. At that time, everyone wanted to join the law enforcement army. As long as you joined the law enforcement army, everyone would be afraid of you. But now, the ancient Saint dynasty is weak and the emperors are divided. Each of them is powerful and the position of the law enforcement army is very awkward. For example, if the disciples of the major forces commit a crime, should the law enforcement army take action or not? If they don't take action, the law enforcement army represents the reputation of the ancient Saint dynasty. In that case, the imperial family might blame them because it would be a disgrace to the imperial family. However, if they take action, the experts of the major forces would put pressure on the imperial family. Under the pressure, the imperial family would usually hand over the law enforcement army to appease the other party's anger. In that case, who would be willing to go to the law enforcement army? Sun Lin explained. Lu Ming had a sudden realization. He finally understood. The main reason was that the ancient Saint dynasty was weak and they did not dare to offend the major forces. If that was the case, the power of the law enforcement army would be rendered useless. If they didn't do anything, they would be throwing the face of the ancient Saint dynasty. If they did something, the people from the major factions would be able to pressure the law enforcement army. The law enforcement army would then become the scapegoat. No matter what they did, they would be jumping into a fire pit. It was no wonder that when the others heard that Lu Ming would be transferred to the law enforcement army, they all reacted that way. Sai, once he is transferred to the law enforcement army, it's all over. Moreover, the 1,000,000-year national ceremony is coming. When the time comes, the holy city will gather and all the major forces of the divine wilderness continent will gather. It will definitely be chaotic. What should the law enforcement army do? Only death awaits. Chapter 1100. 3 days later, the transfer order was officially issued. Lu Ming was transferred to the Enforcer Army as the commander, leading a team of 100 people. Sun Lin would follow him. Lu Ming took the transfer order and set off with Sun Lin. Lu Ming didn't mind. To him, the Enforcer Army was better as it gave him more freedom. He could walk around the holy city as he pleased. That way, he would be able to gather more information. Sun Lin, on the other hand, was listless. He had a gloomy expression on his face. Soon, the two of them arrived at the Enforcer Army's encampment, the Enforcer Hall. There were many Enforcer Halls in the Holy City. A team of 100 people was led by a commander. They were stationed in the Enforcer Hall and were responsible for enforcing the law in a certain area of the Holy City. Lu Ming was the commander of this team of enforcers. He was mainly in charge of an area in the northeast of the Holy City. When Lu Ming walked in, he only saw a few figures sitting listlessly in the Enforcer Hall. He didn't see anyone else. After seeing Lu Ming's group, those people only glanced at Lu Ming casually and continued to sit listlessly. Lu Ming frowned and said, "Just the few of you, where are the others?" One of them looked at Lu Ming and said, "Who are you? You dare to barge into the Enforcer Hall without permission? Do you know that this is a serious crime?" "I'm the new commander. Let me ask you, where are the others?" Lu Ming took out a token and shouted coldly, "The new commander?" Those people's eyes suddenly lit up, flickering with greed and burning flames. They seemed to be suddenly energized and stood up one after another. Then one of them shouted, "A new commander is here. Brothers, come out, we have money to spend again." His voice spread far and wide. Just as his voice fell, the sound of breaking wind rang out. Figures rushed out from various rooms in the Enforcer Hall. There were at least 80 to 90 people. As soon as these people appeared, they stared at Lu Ming and Sun Lin with burning eyes. It was as if they were burly men who had been thirsty for decades and saw a peerlessly enchanting beauty. "Haha, another unlucky bastard has arrived, and it's even a commander. You've come at the right time. Take out all your origin stones and treasures and share them with us, brothers." A burly man who looked like a gorilla stepped out. His muscles bulged as he stared at Lu Ming with a ferocious gaze. "Hee, you're actually just a martial arts practitioner at the 7th level of Spirit Embryo Realm and you're transferred here to be a commander. I really don't know which big shot you've offended. However, no matter who you've offended, since you're here, hand over the origin stones and treasures." A gray-haired old man in his 60s sneered. "Haha, once we get the origin stones, let's go eat and drink to our heart's content, shall we?" "That's for sure." "Motherfucker, I haven't enjoyed it for a long time." The others were also in a hubbub, talking one after another, looking at Lu Ming as if they were looking at a piece of fat meat. Sun Lin's face was pale. Lu Ming was dumbfounded. This was the law enforcement army? This was the law enforcement hall? Lu Ming almost thought that he had come to a bandit's lair. These people actually wanted to rob him. After careful observation, this was undoubtedly the law enforcement hall. "You guys want to rob me?" Lu Ming's face revealed an indescribable smile. "If you want to interpret it that way, that's fine too. Hurry up, otherwise my fist is going to itch." The burly man who looked like a gorilla stared at Lu Ming unkindly. The smile on Lu Ming's face became even wider. Sweeping his gaze, he said, "Since that's the case, all right, I'll rob you now. Hand over all your storage rings." What did you say?" Once Lu Ming's words came out, the entire place quietened down. Everyone looked at Lu Ming dumbfounded. After a while, everyone burst into laughter. "Ah, did I hear wrongly? This fellow at the 7th level of Spirit Embryo Realm actually wants to rob us? Who does he think he is? Does he really think he's a commander? Isn't he the same as us, an unlucky fellow who offended someone he shouldn't have offended? What a joke." Bang! The burly man with the gorilla took a step forward and a violent aura burst out from his body. With a wave of his hand, he grabbed at Lu Ming. This person's cultivation was at the consummate level of Spirit Embryo Realm. Among this group of people, he was at the peak. "Let's see what abilities you have." The burly man with the gorilla revealed a ferocious expression. Lu Ming's gaze turned cold. He stretched out a hand and grabbed the wrist of the burly man with lightning speed. His vital essence burst forth as he grabbed the burly man and flung him violently. Boom! The burly man with the gorilla was like a sandbag as he crashed heavily onto the ground, causing the entire law enforcement hall to tremble violently. If it wasn't for the powerful formation inscribed in the law enforcement hall, it would probably have exploded. The burly man with the gorilla screamed miserably as he crashed onto the ground. His cultivation and vital essence were incomparably weak in the hands of Lu Ming. They were completely scattered by Lu Ming. At this moment, his entire body seemed to have fallen apart. He didn't have any strength left as he laid on the ground, howling in grief. Everyone suddenly became silent as they looked at Lu Ming in shock. The burly man with the cultivation of the consummate level of Spirit Embryo Realm was actually beaten to the point where he couldn't resist at all. How was this possible? "Brothers, let's attack together. This person's battle prowess is profound, so he must have a lot of benefits on him. Let's attack." The white-haired elder shouted loudly. 80 to 90 law enforcers also shouted and rushed towards Lu Ming like a swarm of bees. Bang! Lu Ming took a step forward and rushed over like a flowing light. He slapped out. Bang! Bang! In the law enforcement hall, rapid slapping sounds could be heard, as well as howls and screams of agony, which were all mixed together. In less than a minute, 80 to 90 law enforcers were lying all over the law enforcement hall. They were lying on the ground and howling in grief. One side of their faces was bulging up, making them look incomparably miserable. Sun Lin looked at this scene dumbfoundedly. His mouth was open so wide that he could swallow a duck egg. Was Lu Ming's cultivation at the 7th level of spirit embryo realm? Wasn't his battle prowess a little too strong? In this team of law enforcers, there were 5 to 6 people with consummate spirit embryos. The rest of them were experts at least at the 4th level of spirit embryo realm and above. However, in less than a minute they were all beaten down by Lu Ming. They were as weak as babies. This was too terrifying. He felt that his head couldn't quite turn around. You dare to attack me? You're courting death. Lu Ming shouted coldly. Now, Lu Ming had the appearance of a burly man with a full beard. When he glared, he looked quite imposing. Grabbing the air with his palm, his vital essence burst forth. The storage rings on the fingers of these law enforcers were all sucked over by Lu Ming. If they wanted to rob him, they had to be prepared to be robbed by him. First, Lu Ming picked up the storage ring of the burly chimpanzee and scanned it with his spiritual consciousness. He was dumbfounded. Aren't you a little too poor? Lu Ming stared at the burly chimpanzee and was completely speechless. In the storage ring of the burly chimpanzee, other than a few spirit crystals, there was almost nothing else. Origin stones, no. Good spirit weapons, no. Not to mention any precious medicinal pills or materials. It was completely empty. There was nothing at all. This was a storage ring with a consummate spirit embryo after all. How could it be so poor? Next, Lu Ming looked at the storage rings of other people. Many of them were even poorer than the burly chimpanzee. Chapter 1101. Lu Ming scanned dozens of storage rings and found that they were all similar. The contents inside were miserable and didn't look like the storage rings of martial artists above the 4th level of spirit embryo realm at all. Looking at Lu Ming's dumbfounded expression, the chimpanzee and the others were embarrassed. With a wave of his hand, all the storage rings flew back to the chimpanzee and the others. Get up, don't play dead. Lu Ming looked around and said coldly. Lu Ming didn't hit them hard just now. He only scattered their vital essence temporarily, so it wasn't a big deal. After all, Lu Ming was the commander of these people. He couldn't kill them as soon as he arrived. The chimpanzee and the others got up from the ground one by one. Commander, your battle power is profound. I'm really impressed. As soon as he got up, the chimpanzee showed a simple and honest smile, which was completely different from the ferocious look just now. Yes. Commander, your cultivation is unparalleled. You got rid of us in just a few moves. It's the first time I've seen something like this in all my years. The white-haired elder also flattered. Commander is invincible. Commander is mighty. The other members of the law enforcement army also flattered. Lu Ming's eyelids kept twitching. He was quite speechless. What kind of people were these? They wanted to rob him just now, but now they changed their attitude so quickly. Why are you so poor? You don't even have a piece of origin stone in your storage rings? Lu Ming asked curiously. Sigh. We are the law enforcement army. It's so hard. Commander, it's like this, everyone started to explain to Lu Ming. After listening, Lu Ming fell into deep thought. The life of the law enforcement army was even worse than what Sun Lin said. The law enforcement army had to enforce the law in the sacred city and protect the reputation of the ancient Saint dynasty. However, the ancient Saint dynasty had declined. Although it was still an overlord force or even the strongest one, it was just an overlord force. It no longer had the power to dominate the world. Therefore, when it did things, it had to be scrupulous and had to build a good relationship with other forces. Therefore, the law enforcement army didn't dare to arrest or punish the people of the big forces when they committed crimes. However, they had to protect the reputation of the royal family. What could they do? Therefore, most of the time, the law enforcement army had to pay out of their own pockets to give gifts to the disciples of the big forces and those who had committed crimes. They would ask them to do a good deed and apologize in public. In this way, the law enforcement army would naturally protect the reputation of the royal family. The criminals would also admit their mistakes and the matter would be resolved. However, they had to fork out their own money. Over time, It would be strange if the law enforcement army was not poor. It was no wonder that they wanted to rob Lu Ming as soon as they saw that he was new. Lu Ming was speechless. The law enforcement army was too cowardly. The culprit was fine, but they had to give the culprit benefits. This was simply unheard of. The law enforcement army is supposed to enforce the law under the heavens and represent the ancient sage dynasty in enforcing the law. However, it's a pity that the ancient sage dynasty no longer has the power to do so. In fact, the law enforcement army could have been removed long ago. However, the imperial family has kept it for the sake of their dignity. The white-haired old man sighed. Lu Ming finally knew why Xie Jin transferred him to the law enforcement army and made him a commander. The million-year national ceremony was getting closer and closer. People from all the big forces would gather. It was an eventful time. If something went wrong, Lu Ming would offend someone and he wouldn't even know how he died. Moreover, the responsibility of a commander would naturally be greater. Xie Jin, if you want to play, let's play. Lu Ming's lips curled into a smile. He waved his hand and a storage ring flew towards the chimpanzee man. There are 10,000 origin stones here. Use it to buy some good wine and delicacies. I'll treat everyone to a good meal. If there's more, each of you can buy a spiritual weapon. These people were simply too poor, to the point that they had even sold their own spirit weapons. 10,000 origin stones? The chimpanzee man took the ring and was stunned at first. Then he was overjoyed and said, "Thank you, Commander." The others were also overjoyed. They thanked Lu Ming and then went to buy good wine, delicacies, and spiritual weapons. The wine and delicacies that martial artists ate were different from those of ordinary people. They were all from powerful fierce beasts and demon beasts. The wine was also spiritual wine, which was very expensive. Half a day later, the chimpanzee man and others bought a lot of good wine and delicacies. The 80 to 90 people were divided into several tables and ate to their heart's content. They hadn't eaten and drank to their heart's content for a long time. At the moment they were quite grateful to Lu Ming. Everyone ate and drank while chatting. Through chatting, Lu Ming learned that these people had offended big shots and were transferred here. They had families and friends in the sacred city. They couldn't escape, so they could only suffer in the law enforcement army. Everyone ate and drank for a few hours. Not good. Someone destroyed a shop on North Street and killed the shopkeeper. He's still there now. Suddenly, a law enforcement army soldier rushed in to report the news. What? Who did it? Trouble, something happened again. The chimpanzee man and others' faces changed drastically. They were usually most afraid of accidents because once something happened, it would be easy to deal with some unknown people. However, if it was a big shot, it would be difficult. It's the young master of the Huang family, Huang Ke. The messenger said. What? The Huang family is a family with many spiritual immortals. What should we do? The chimpanzee man and others' faces changed drastically. They couldn't offend any force with a spiritual immortal. Otherwise, the spiritual immortals of the other party could directly find their superiors and put pressure on them. Let's go and have a look. Lu Ming picked up a glass of wine, drank it all, and strode out. You will go together. The chimpanzee man picked a dozen people and followed Lu Ming out of the law enforcement hall. Their law enforcement hall was in the northeast of the sacred city. It was very close to North Street. They arrived in a short while. On the way, Lu Ming also knew what was going on. Huang Ke, the young master of the Huang family, took a fancy to a treasure in a shop, but there was no origin stone. He said that he owed it first and wanted to take the treasure first. Those who knew Huang Ke knew that he had never paid back anything he owed. The shopkeeper naturally didn't agree, so Huang Ke killed the shopkeeper and destroyed the shop. He even wanted to kill the shopkeeper's family. As soon as he arrived, he heard an arrogant voice. Damn it, I gave you face but you didn't take it. I said that you owed it first. It's not like you won't pay it back. Why don't you agree? You're courting death. Who can you blame? An arrogant voice sounded. Get out of the way. If you don't get out of the way, I'll kill you too. A deep voice sounded. It must have been Huang Ke's servant. Get out of the way, get out of the way. The law enforcement army is on duty. Get out of the way. The chimpanzee man roared. The crowd made way and Lu Ming strode over. A white-haired old man was lying on the ground, no longer breathing. Chapter 1102. That youth was Huang Ke. Behind Huang Ke, there was even a burly man following behind her. At this moment, Huang Ke also saw Lu Ming and the rest. However, not only was he not afraid, he even sneered. What's going on? Lu Ming walked over and asked with a frown. So it's people from the law enforcement army. This person offended me and was killed by me. You guys can collect his corpse. Huang Ku had his hands behind his back as he casually glanced at Lu Ming and said indifferently. Killed by you? This person was running a shop in the sacred city and should be protected by the law enforcement army. Why did you kill him? Follow us to the law enforcement hall and give us an explanation. Lu Ming said coldly. What did you say? You want to capture me and bring me to the law enforcement hall? Huang Ke seemed to have heard a very funny joke and almost laughed out loud. He looked at Lu Ming in disbelief. The others at the side were the same. The law enforcement hall dared to capture Huang Ke? Huang family was considered quite a power in the sacred city. Now that the law enforcement army existed in name only, would they really dare to capture Huang Ke? Nonsense. Tai Xing, capture him. Lu Ming shouted loudly. Tai Xing was the name of the burly chimpanzee. The burly chimpanzee revealed a difficult expression. Commander, this Huang Ke is not to be offended. Tai Xing whispered in Lu Ming's ear. If you guys don't make a move, I'll do it myself. Lu Ming's gaze turned cold as he stepped forward. You dare? Huang Ke shouted loudly. Why wouldn't I dare? Lu Ming sneered. A mere law enforcement army, you're courting death. Kill him. Huang Ke waved his hand and the burly man behind him stepped forward. A violent aura burst forth as the aura of the 8th level of Spirit Embryo Realm burst forth. The burly man shouted angrily with cold killing intent. He unsheathed his battle knife and slashed towards Lu Ming's neck. Want to kill me? Lu Ming took a step forward and struck out with his palm. Space rumbled, and the terrifying power instantly broke through all of the burly man's defenses. A palm slapped the burly man's chest, and a large hole directly appeared in his chest. He screamed, and with a look of disbelief, his life was cut off. Even at the moment of his death, he still could not believe that the trash of the law enforcement army had become so domineering. You dare? Huang Ke was so scared that her face turned pale. She trembled all over and looked at Lu Ming in disbelief. If you want to kill me, you have to be killed by me. Since you asked him to kill me, I'll cripple you first. Lu Ming's eyes flashed with killing intent. No, don't. Huang Ke was extremely terrified. Whoosh. Lu Ming flicked his finger and a spear light shot out, crippling Huang Ke's cultivation. You crippled my cultivation. I want you to die a horrible death. A horrible death. Huang Ke screamed miserably. At the side, the others were incomparably shocked. This law enforcement army was completely different from before. They were actually so ruthless and decisive. However, there were also many people who secretly clapped their hands and cheered. This Huang Ke had relied on her family's power to commit all kinds of evil. She finally got her retribution. However, this law enforcement army was going to be miserable later. The Huang family would not let this matter rest. Behind Lu Ming, Tai Xing and the others widened their eyes, not knowing what to do. Although they also felt very good doing this, their entire bodies felt comfortable. But now they felt comfortable. But what about the consequences? If Huang Ke was crippled, the Huang family would probably go crazy. Lu Ming sucked Huang Ke and the burly man's storage rings over and handed them to the two women at the side. One old and one young, obviously the shopkeeper's family. The two of them cried bitterly with a helpless face. Take these 2 storage rings and leave the sacred city. Go live somewhere else. Lu Ming handed over the storage rings to the two and said, Thank you, sir. The two of them thanked him repeatedly and then quickly left the city. Tai Xing, bring this trash back to the law enforcement hall. Lu Ming ordered, then turned around and walked towards the law enforcement hall. Tai Xing and the others looked at each other. In the end, they gritted their teeth and carried Huang Ke back to the law enforcement hall. Along the way, Huang Ke's crying attracted many people's attention. There's a good show to watch. The Huang family will definitely go crazy and kill their way to the law enforcement hall. They probably won't kill the law enforcement army directly, but they will put pressure on the law enforcement army and then kill their way to the law enforcement hall. Let's go and take a look. Let's go and take a look. Along the way, a large group of people followed behind Lu Ming and the others to the law enforcement hall. Not long after, Lu Ming and the others returned to the law enforcement hall. When the remaining law enforcement army saw this scene and heard what had happened, they were all pale with fright. It's over. How are we going to deal with the other party's experts when they come knocking on our door? Forget it, we can't hide. Let's go all out. But I feel pretty good in my heart. That's true. The other members of the law enforcement hall discussed softly. Lu Ming's face was calm. He crossed his arms and closed his eyes to rest, waiting quietly. The sky around the law enforcement hall was filled with people. Some were waiting quietly while some were gloating. Time passed slowly. 2 hours later. The Huang family is here. Someone shouted. Whoosh. At this moment, Lu Ming opened his eyes and looked at the sky. There were a total of 3 people in the sky. The 2 old men were dressed like Huang Ke. They should be the experts of the Huang family. The other middle-aged man was actually wearing the uniform of the law enforcement hall. It's the commander-in-chief. Tai Xing's face changed and whispered in Lu Ming's ear. The commander-in-chief he was referring to was the commander-in-chief of the law enforcement army. He was in charge of all the existing law enforcement army in the Holy City. The commander-in-chief of the law enforcement army's face was as black as a pot. His gaze fell on Lu Ming and he scolded, "Ming Lu, why aren't you releasing young Master Huang Ke?" The commander-in-chief of the law enforcement army was extremely displeased. Especially when he looked at Lu Ming, he was even more displeased. How could Lu Ming not be aware of the current situation of the law enforcement army? He had accidentally apologized to them and even dared to kill the guards of the Huang family and cripple Huang Ke's cultivation. It would be strange if the Huang family didn't fly into a rage. Look, their domain enlightened spirit god expert had directly come looking for him and pressured him. Release him? Haha, Commander-in-Chief, this person killed the shopkeeper of a store on the street. That shopkeeper had to be protected by the ancient Saint dynasty to do business in the Holy City. Otherwise, who would dare to do business in the Holy City in the future? I'm acting impartially. Why should I release him? Lu Ming sneered as he replied. The other members of the law enforcement hall behind him broke out in cold sweat for Lu Ming. The commander-in-chief of the law enforcement army was a domain-enlightened spirit god expert. Lu Ming actually dared to speak to a domain-enlightened spirit god expert like that? Sure enough, Lu Ming's words caused the commander-in-chief of the law enforcement hall's expression to become even more gloomy. However, he was unable to find the words to refute Lu Ming. Because Lu Ming was right. Lu Ming was carrying out the duties of the law enforcement hall. As the commander-in-chief of the law enforcement army, how could he refute Lu Ming? Haha, Commander-in-Chief Qin, looks like your subordinate doesn't listen to you at all. Since it's like that, then allow me to personally cripple this person's cultivation and bring him back to the Huang family to be dealt with. Chapter 1103. First Level of Spirit God. Lu Ming's lips curled into a cold smile. The elder from Huang family was at the first level of Spirit God, and the other elder beside him had an even weaker cultivation. He was only at the perfected spirit embryo. However, this person had a powerful aura that was far from ordinary perfected spirit embryos. Lu Ming guessed that this person had awakened his god-level bloodline but hadn't broken through to the spirit god realm. He was considered an old monster and his battle power was much stronger than ordinary perfected spirit embryos. Bang! Lu Ming stepped on Huang Ke's face, making him scream like a pig being slaughtered. How dare you say you want to cripple me, the commander of the law enforcement army, in the disciplinary hall? You are simply disgraceful and deserve to die. Lu Ming shouted and glared at him. With his face full of beard, he looked righteous. He exerted force with his feet and rubbed Huang Ke's face against the ground. Ah, old ancestors, save me! Huang Ke screamed miserably. How dare you, evil creature, you are courting death. The elder with the perfected spirit embryo shouted and took a step forward with a violent aura. He formed a huge palm and pressed down on Lu Ming. Not good, it's an old monster with a perfected spirit embryo. The expression of Tai Xing and the rest changed drastically. Tai Xing also had a perfected spirit embryo, but his battle power was far inferior to that of a perfected spirit embryo who had awakened a god-level bloodline. However, Lu Ming's expression was still calm. He clenched his hand into a claw and clawed upwards. With a poof, the old man's palm collapsed instantly. Lu Ming's claw, which was condensed by his vital essence, continued to grab the old man at an incredible speed. In an instant, the old man was caught in his hand. Break! The elder's expression changed drastically, and his god-level bloodline appeared. He executed bloodline fusion and unleashed a violent attack, wanting to break apart Lu Ming's vital essence claw. However, it was a pity that it didn't budge. Come down! Lu Ming shouted softly. He pulled his claws downwards and directly pulled the old man's body down from the air, smashing him onto the ground ruthlessly. Boom! The earth quaked and the old man screamed miserably. His protective Jin Yuan had been shattered by Lu Ming. His bones crackled and popped, and it was unknown how many of them had been broken. He lay on the ground, screaming miserably like a dying dog. The surrounding onlookers, including the other members of the law enforcement hall, were all dumbfounded. They looked at this scene in disbelief. The onlookers in particular swallowed their saliva like crazy. This disciplinary hall commander was too awesome. Firstly, his battle prowess had exceeded everyone's expectations. An old monster with a perfect spirit embryo was pulled down from the sky in one move and smashed into the ground half dead. Such battle prowess could be said to be astonishing. Secondly, this commander was too audacious. Not only had he crippled Huang Ku, he'd even bashed a senior of the Huang clan to the point he was on the verge of death. Next, he would definitely have to face the rage of a domain-enlightened spirit god. Bastard, you're courting death. Sure enough, the spiritual god expert from the Huang clan was furious. He let out a loud roar as a terrifying aura erupted from him. A pressure that was as deep as the ocean suffused the entire area. Many people's expressions changed drastically as they retreated madly. The pressure formed by a spiritual god expert's attack was too strong and absolutely terrifying. Die. The spiritual god of the Huang clan shouted and pointed his finger. Everywhere his finger passed, yellow rays of light burst forth. The space distorted like ripples of water and was finally torn apart. Whoosh! A terrifying finger force was aimed at the center of Lu Ming's eyebrows. This awesome commander is finished. Such a thought flashed through everyone's mind. Boom. Just when such a thought flashed through everyone's mind, Lu Ming blasted a fist towards the sky. A fist aura soared into the sky and collided with the finger force. With a loud boom, the finger force and the fist aura disappeared at the same time. What? He blocked the attack of the domain-enlightened spirit god? Waves of cries of disbelief came from the surroundings. Lu Ming's battle prowess had once again exceeded everyone's expectations. He had actually blocked the attack of the domain-enlightened spirit god. The eyes of the commander of the law enforcement hall flickered, and he was incomparably astonished. According to what he knew, Ming Lu had been transferred to the law enforcement army because he had offended the 8th prince. According to the information he had received, this person's battle prowess was only slightly stronger than the 8th prince. When he had sparred with the 8th prince, he had recklessly injured the 8th prince. Therefore, no matter how strong his battle prowess was, it was still limited. He had never expected that he could actually block the attack of the domain-enlightened spirit god. It seems that this person has been hiding his strength. The commander of the law enforcement army thought to himself. A murderous intent flashed through Lu Ming's eyes. His gaze was like two resplendent spear auras that pierced towards the Huang clan's elder. He said indifferently, "It seems that you want to be like him." The him that Lu Ming was talking about was the elder with a perfected spirit embryo. At this moment, the Huang clan's spiritual god's heart couldn't help but tighten. At this moment he actually felt a terrifying pressure from Lu Ming. It was as if he was facing a terrifying ferocious beast that could tear him into pieces once it went berserk. This kind of feeling made him panic in his heart. "What do you want?" The Huang clan's spiritual god asked with an unsightly expression. "Apologize and admit your mistake in front of everyone," Lu Ming said. "Don't even think about it. Don't go overboard. If you let him go now, I won't pursue the matter." The Huang clan's spiritual god's face turned ugly. However, by saying so he was already taking a step back. Lu Ming sneered and said, "This person killed the shopkeeper of the holy city for no reason. I am the commander of the law enforcement army, and I am here to enforce the law on behalf of the Saint Emperor. Your Huang clan is so audacious that you actually dared to kill your way into the law enforcement hall. Are you looking down on the ancient Saint dynasty and the imperial Xie clan? Are you trying to overturn the heavens? And you, as the commander of the law enforcement hall, it's fine if you don't enforce the law impartially, but you actually help the other party to bully the law enforcement hall. It seems that you also don't put the imperial family in your eyes." Lu Ming's every word struck the heart of the Huang clan's spiritual god and the commander of the law enforcement hall. Their expressions changed drastically and became abnormally ugly. Lu Ming was pulling the wool over their eyes and putting a big label on them. However, this label was too heavy for them to bear. Today there were so many people here. If Lu Ming's words reached the ears of the imperial family and even the Saint Emperor, they would definitely have to bear the consequences. Although the law enforcement hall existed in name only now and no one really cared about it, it was still the law enforcement hall in essence. Before the law enforcement army was withdrawn, it had the same meaning as it did 30,000 years ago. It had the power to enforce the law. In fact, other law enforcement hall people could also put a label on others because once this matter was blown out of proportion, the imperial family would definitely intervene. However, the premise was that they had to have strength. For example, if Lu Ming was not strong enough, he would have been slapped to death by the Huang clan's expert. There would be no chance to put a label on him. However, it was different now. Since Lu Ming had already spoken out and put a label on them, if they continued to act, it would really be like what Lu Ming said. They didn't put the Imperial Xie clan in their eyes. After that, the Imperial Xie clan would definitely take action. Otherwise, where would their face go? Damn it. The Huang clan's spiritual god and the commander of the law enforcement army gritted their teeth, but there was nothing they could do. Okay, this is my Huang clan's fault. I apologize. In the future, I will definitely warn the Huang clan's disciples to follow the rules of the law enforcement army. The Huang clan's spiritual god was helpless. In the end, he could only apologize. Then he looked at Huang Ku and asked her to apologize. Chapter 1104. Scram. Lu Ming picked up Huang Ku and threw him to the Huang family spirit god as if he was throwing trash. The Huang family spirit god's face was very cold. He stretched out his hand and grabbed the elder with a perfect spirit embryo before leaving without looking back. Today the Huang family had lost all face. The commander of the law enforcement army also snorted and left by stepping into the air. The surrounding onlookers looked at each other in disbelief. They had originally thought that with the Huang family's large-scale attack, the commander would most likely be dead. Who would have thought that even though the Huang family's experts had come, they would return with their faces covered in dirt? As for the commander, he was completely unharmed. This was out of everyone's expectations. This commander of the law enforcement army is really awesome. He's really awesome. He's the most awesome commander of the law enforcement army I've ever seen. Everyone was discussing spiritedly. The people of the law enforcement army were also tongue-tied. They didn't expect the final result to be like this. However, it felt great. The eyes of the 80 to 90 people of the law enforcement army lit up. They felt extremely comfortable. As for Lu Ming, they were full of admiration. Commander is mighty. Tai Xing roared. Alright, cut the crap and get to work. Lu Ming waved his hand and returned to his room. Everyone dispersed, but the matter of the law enforcement army having a powerful commander spread out like a whirlwind. It gave everyone something to talk about while they were cultivating. Time passed day by day. In the blink of an eye, Lu Ming had been in the law enforcement army for half a month. During this half a month, other than cultivating, Lu Ming was strolling around the sacred city. Of course, he wasn't really strolling around. Instead, he was loitering outside the imperial palace to see if he could find a chance to sneak in. In the end, he gave up helplessly. There were too many terrifying existences in the imperial palace. He had carefully sensed and found that there were countless existences in the imperial palace that could easily kill him. There were even some incomparably terrifying auras that were like the aura of a supreme being. They were definitely supreme beings. Lu Ming had sensed no less than 10 of such auras. And this was what Lu Ming had sensed. If he hadn't sensed anything, then there was definitely something else. Although the ancient holy court had weakened, a starving camel was still bigger than a horse. The ancient holy court was still the most powerful force in the central continent, and its power was unfathomable. This was to be expected as well. If they weren't strong, they would have long been destroyed by the other overlord forces. After all, there were many overlord forces who were eyeing them covetously. In the past half a month, more and more people had gathered in the holy city as the ancient sage dynasty's 1,000,000-year state ceremony was getting closer. However, due to the incident with the Huang family last time, some small forces would not be too presumptuous. In the areas under Lu Ming's jurisdiction, nothing major happened. On this day, a shocking piece of news spread throughout the holy city. The sage emperor intended to choose a husband for one of the princesses during the 1,000,000-year national sacrifice, and he wanted to choose one of the heroes of the younger generation. As soon as this news came out, it was like an earthquake that shook the entire holy city. Countless people were shocked. The current sage emperor had a total of 16 children. Among them there were 13 princes and only 3 princesses. However, the 13 princes were completely suppressed by the 3 princesses. That was because 2 of the 3 princesses' names shook the world. Their magnificence was unmatched and they were simply too outstanding. Xianyanjuan was one of the top 5 youths in the central continent. At the same time, she was also one of the top 5 beauties of the central continent. Her beauty was unparalleled and unparalleled. there was another princess, Xian Yanlin. She was also one of the top 5 beauties of the central continent. However, her martial arts talent was slightly inferior to Xian Yanjuan's. Nevertheless, she was still a second-grade genius and was on par with Sandalwood Fairy and Jing Kongling. These two princesses were so outstanding that countless people were envious of them. It was said that there was another princess. She was the youngest of all the princes and princesses. She was also peerlessly beautiful. Her appearance and temperament were not at all inferior to the other two princesses. Even her martial talent was incomparably shocking. However, not many people had seen her before. That was because that princess was an anomaly in the Imperial Xia family. Anomaly was a taboo word in the Imperial Xia family. That was because the Imperial Xia family was weakened because of an anomaly. Which princess was the sage emperor going to choose a husband for? Everyone was extremely curious. However, no matter which princess it was, many young geniuses from the major factions were tempted. Then, the major factions sent people to investigate and verify the authenticity of the news. Lu Ming's heart trembled when he heard the news. Who was the sage emperor going to choose a husband for a princess? Lu Ming was very worried. He was afraid that it was Xian Yanqing. 3 days later, an even more shocking piece of news was released. The current sage emperor personally ordered someone to spread the news. It was true that he was going to choose a husband for a princess. The princess was Xian Yanlin. Moreover, it was going to be a competition between young geniuses on the day of the million-year national sacrificial ceremony. The person who won first place would become Xian Yanlin's husband and would also be able to enter the sage emperor's ancient palace to cultivate. The person who won second and third place would be able to make a request to the sage emperor. The sage emperor would try his best to fulfill the request and would also be able to enter the sage emperor's ancient palace to cultivate. The person who won 4th to 10th place would be able to enter the sage emperor's ancient palace to cultivate. When the news was released, it caused a huge earthquake in the sacred city. Countless people were shocked. At the same time, the news spread to the central continent and even the surrounding territories at the speed of a tornado. Countless young geniuses were shocked. Their eyes lit up. Some of the geniuses were not interested in the person who won first place or being able to marry a princess. Instead, they were interested in a condition from the sage emperor, which was to enter the sage emperor's ancient palace to cultivate. The sage emperor was an emperor. There was no need to mention the value of a condition from him. The sage emperor's ancient palace was a sacred place for cultivation. Legend had it that the ancient dynasty's sage emperors had comprehended the palace. If one could comprehend it, it would be very useful for breaking through to the emperor realm in the future. The ancient dynasty's Xia family had been passed down for millions of years. They had produced many emperors and had never stopped. That was why they had always been strong. Some people said that it had something to do with the sage emperor's ancient palace. This made the geniuses who wanted to become emperors extremely excited. After confirming the news, they all rushed to the sacred city. When Lu Ming heard it, he heaved a sigh of relief because the princess was not Xian Yanqing. However, at the same time, Lu Ming was also very excited. What he was excited about was not Xian Yanlin, nor was it about entering the sage emperor's ancient palace. It was about a condition from the sage emperor. If he could get second or third place, he would be able to ask the sage emperor to let Xian Yanqing go. At the thought of this, Lu Ming decided that he would participate in this competition. This piece of news caused the ancient sacred dynasty to lose its peace. It became the top topic of discussion. People talked about it every day and it didn't die down for a long time. Many people were secretly guessing why the sage emperor would do this. However, it was not difficult for people with foresight to guess that the Imperial Xia family wanted to use this method to increase the strength of the Imperial family. The person who could get first place and marry Princess Xian Yanlin would definitely be a genius from an overlord force. This way, through marriage, the Imperial family would increase the strength of the Imperial family. Although the chaotic Sky Divine Emperor was suppressed in the end, the ancient Saint dynasty suffered a great loss in that battle. Countless spirit gods and sovereigns were killed. Even the emperors were killed. Since then, the ancient Saint dynasty's strength was greatly weakened. The ancient Saint dynasty's strength has reached a new height. Sun Lin told Lu Ming everything that he had read. Lu Ming fell into deep thought. The chaotic Sky Divine Emperor's experience was similar to Xian Yanqing's. The bloodline that he awakened was called an anomaly by the Imperial Xia family. It's just a bloodline. It's ridiculous that they treated it like that. The chaotic Sky Divine Emperor, Xiao Wan, was extremely talented. If the others did not mock and humiliate him when he was young, why would he rebel when he became stronger? If he didn't rebel, he wouldn't be where he was today. The ancient Saint Dynasty Xie family would only become more prosperous and powerful. I heard that the current 16th princess also awakened an anomaly bloodline. Sigh, it's so pitiful. The anomaly bloodline has always been looked down upon by the imperial family. Moreover, after the chaotic Sky Divine Emperor, the anomaly bloodline ended up in a worse state. Before the chaotic Sky Divine Emperor appeared, the imperial family would still nurture the anomaly bloodline of the imperial family if they showed great talent, just like the chaotic Sky Divine Emperor. However, after the chaotic Sky Divine Emperor appeared, the imperial family suppressed any anomaly bloodline directly. The stronger one's talent was, the more they suppressed them. It's simply a taboo because they are afraid that another anomaly like the chaotic Sky Divine Emperor will appear. Sun Lin continued. Crack. Lu Ming could not help but clench his fists tightly. No matter what, he had to save Xian Yanqing. No matter how difficult it was, he had to go through it. Then Lu Ming left without asking any questions. Time passed quickly. Soon there was only half a month left until the million-year state ceremony. After this period of cultivation, Lu Ming's cultivation had also improved and reached the mid-second level of the spirit god realm. It's too slow. It's really too slow to increase my cultivation by absorbing the spiritual energy of heaven and earth. Lu Ming sighed. However, there was nothing he could do. He didn't have many origin stones with him now. The amount of origin stones needed to increase one's cultivation in the spirit god realm was simply terrifying. However, the water intent of heaven and earth had broken through and reached the fourth level of the initial stage. Now, only the earth intent had not broken through to the fourth level of the initial stage. On this day, Lu Ming had just ended his cultivation and was about to go out for a walk when someone came to report that something had happened. Someone had killed someone on the street and the battle was still ongoing. Who is it? Lu Ming asked. I heard that it's a disciple of the Sky Martial Sword sect. Tai Xing replied with an ugly expression. The Celestial Martial Sword sect was an overlord force. Furthermore, it was an extremely powerful overlord force. What should they do now? They knew that something was going to happen as the various overlord forces gathered in the holy city. What should we do? Of course we have to do it impartially. Lu Ming said. Impartially? Commander, the other party is the Sky Martial Sword sect. Tai Xing cried out worriedly. So what if it's the Sky Martial Sword sect? Don't forget that this is the holy city and not the Sky Martial Sword sect. All of you follow me. Lu Ming shouted coldly and walked out with large strides. The others had no choice but to follow. They flew in the air and soon arrived at the scene of the incident. It was outside a restaurant. At this moment, the restaurant was surrounded by people. Lu Ming appeared in the air and looked down. On the street, two people were lying on the ground with blood flowing everywhere. Their throats were slit by a sword and they were no longer breathing. On the other side of the two corpses, the battle was still ongoing. 3 Celestial Martial Sword sect disciples in white robes were currently attacking 3 people. One of them was an old man and the other 2 were young men and women. However, the 3 of them were no match for the 3 Sky Martial Sword sect disciples. The 3 Sky Martial Sword sect disciples were all experts at the 5th level of Spirit Embryo Realm. They were very young and belonged to the younger generation. To have such a cultivation at such a young age, they were clearly the top prodigies of the Sky Martial Sword sect. As for the old man and the young man, the old man's cultivation was at the 7th level of Spirit Embryo Realm. However, the young man and woman's cultivation were only at the 1st or 2nd level of Spirit Embryo Realm. The difference was too great. Although the old man's cultivation was high, the 3 Sky Martial Sword sect disciples were all top prodigies. It was normal for them to fight above their level. They completely suppressed the old man and made him unable to retaliate. You guys are courting death. How dare you talk about the Sky Martial Sword sect behind our backs? One of the Sky Martial Sword sect disciples sneered. The Sky Martial Sword sect is too overbearing. You don't even allow others to talk? In the World Academy's Saint Manor secret realm, Wu Qingkong and the rest were killed by Lu Shaoqing. This is the truth and everyone knows it. Are you guys going to kill everyone in the world? That you're tuning in to the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.